Well, I suppose it's due time that we issue a formal apology to the people of Boston, Massachusetts for the way we're about to butcher the way you guys speak.
We ain't gonna butcher.
Hey, a couple people butcher the way they speak in The Departed too.
Yeah, but
Yeah, more than a couple.
we aren't getting
Definitely
paid
more
to
than a
do it.
couple.
We're doing it for fun. We being Brandon, that's me.
I'm Jesse. That's me.
I'm Frank. This is I.
This is fucking Sergeant Dunnigan.
Nope.
It's
there is
Dignam.
no.
Dignam, you cunts.
Wait, you calling us cunts?
Come on.
you calling us cunts?
Warning: this podcast is
Maybe.
not for kids.
If kids were listening to this podcast before, fuck off. Don't
Why?
do that.
Why? I don't know. That's cool.
Unless
They
you want to
can
be
stay.
bad.
Yeah. Who you
Cool.
trying to be, Leo or Matt Damon?
Only the cool kids listen to this pot.
If our podcast was on a CD, we'd have that parental discretion advised thing on the front, or explicit content thing.
No, we'd have us smoking weed using the parental advisory as the blunt wrap.
That's the paper. Yeah,
That's smart.
That's us
That-
here at the Chronic Canon.
We we hate authority.
We hate authority, and we also hate people that don't like heat.
Yeah, if you
And
don't
usually
like
we
heat-
say that last, but if you don't like heat, get out now. If
Well,
you,
it's The Departed.
haven't seen it, you can stay.
Yeah.
And we're
Just
smoking movies and we're talking weed here.
Yes, yes, we are.
And we're live in our ears, but not in
9
yours.
years.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we talk Martin Scorsese right now.
We talk
Yes.
Martin Scorsese right now,
These are the
Those-
Sassy Sessions.
but we also talk spoilers for not just Martin Scorsese,
Everybody.
but all movies.
Yeah.
In
Nobody's
general,
safe.
nothing is sacred on the Chronic Canon.
Some things are sacred.
Well, we did keep the Uncut Gems spoiler pretty low key until just recently.
No, we didn't say we
never
we
said
never
if
said
you're
it.
listening, we spoiled it.
We hinted.
You totally dropped the bomb.
No,
from what
we
I
didn't
recall.
say it explicitly.
If we keep talking, we're going to do it.
Was
Well,
that how he dies?
God damn it! Well,
You were literally you wanted him to do that.
Yeah,
you were
you were teeing it up.
You were
I
fucking.
mean, subconsciously because it wasn't something I was actively pursuing at
You
the
can
time.
bleep it out. That'd be funny.
We haven't had bleeps on the pot yet.
Oh yeah, this
No.
is a podcast. Did we say that?
Well,
If you
we
don't
must have.
smoke weed, it's chill, man.
Yeah, that's
Hang out.
definitely
Yeah.
cool. You don't
We
have to
barely
smoke
smoke
weed. Get
weed.
a contact high with us.
Yeah. Oh, we were talking about drinking beers.
I can go get some
beers.
beers.
Go get some fucking
I got
beers.
some
Get
beers
some
downstairs.
PBRs.
Yeah, get some. We're gonna. You should get a beer.
Get a fucking beer.
I mean, the listeners should get a beer. If we're gonna have a beer, they should have a beer. I
They
don't
should.
know.
They should have a fucking beer. Now it's just the two of us.
Unsupervised.
Okay. Well, now that it's just the two of us, I can finally confide in you.
Okay.
Well,
And anyone listening.
I have a question.
Okay, that's not confiding, but go on.
I can confide in the question.
Okay.
You fucking call?
Huh?
Are you a fucking cop?
I'm not a fucking cop.
If you're a cop, you know you could have told me you're a fucking cop.
Oh, I do.
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Hey, what's up?
Jesse?
Jesse's return.
No, we got an important question. It's the most important
Am I a
question.
fucking co-op?
See, only a fucking cop would know that fucking
He was
question.
listening. He was. You wearing a wire?
You got a fucking wire?
I'm bugging this whole place.
Oh.
I mean, I am recording this. That was like a half Boston accent.
Give me
think
all you got.
It's gonna
We'll be
keep
like-
happening. If I started saying Boston in the midst of me trying to talk with my normal voice.
We'll be like the actors. They'll be coming in and out randomly without warning.
Or like Leo and Vera Farmiga in that one scene,
I don't even remember.
coming in and out.
Yes.
hey,
More times than not, it's perfect timing.
Yeah.
straight at the 3 times we've used it. It's been
Perfect.
pretty
I love it.
fucking.
Oh, I don't
incredible.
have anything to smoke.
Oh, also for the listener who
That's the
is
420
uninformed, that's the 420 warning. It's been 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Howie Bling will always let us know. And if this is your first time listening to this podcast, welcome, because I imagine it might be. The Departed's a pretty popular movie.
Does
this
that
is-
mean that
it's our
you
weirdest opening,
the
sorry.
first 4 minutes and 20 seconds of every pod is unedited to make it work?
Exactly.
Oh no. This
Good thing we always start perfectly with no mistakes.
Well, that's good. Did you guys start with a mistake? Did I miss the mistake?
I mean,
we are the
everything
mistake.
everything we do is a mistake.
I mean,
This
that's absolutely
is
true.
the mistake.
You're looking at it live in our ears.
And
But not
in
yours.
yours.
Okay, The Departed,
What you're listening to. live in your ears.
Scorsese's 20th feature film, which is insane.
That's a big one.
Smoke buddy.
yeah,
I got that. We don't sponsor the Smoke Buddy, but it is convenient if you're trying to be low key about smoking in indoor environments.
Yes, I recommend it. Are we allowed to recommend things?
We can
So our
recommend on
podcast
our
is
own accord.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, you 12 people, buy this thing.
What else do you guys recommend?
I don't know.
The Irishman.
Well, I definitely recommend The Irishman, which we should discuss real quick, has officially been announced to become a Criterion Collection edition.
Yay!
You know,
Yes, did it.
yes.
it's going to come out well after we do our Irishman episode.
Only like about a month if
But
I'm on track.
I want to say, now that it has the doc and all those special features, it might be garnered to be a two-parter.
Frank, did you read the special feature rundown of
No.
The Irishman? I'm going to pull it up because it's worth going over, especially
Departed,
on the
though.
Scorsese session.
All right.
But go ahead and continue talking while I look it up.
I mean, what are we going to... That's going to be a weird backtrack.
Backtrack to what? Talk about The Irishman.
You want us to talk about The Irishman on the episode of The Departed?
No.
What's going on?
What'd you think of the cover of the Criterion? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty.
It's not just pretty, it's gorgeous.
Okay. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I thought it was like perfect because I was wondering the whole time that they've announced early on, like in the year, that Netflix had sold the rights to 3 of their films to Criterion to release, Marriage Story being one. And I think there was definitely another one I can't remember. Oh, it's Portrait of a Lady on Fire. It's already out.
That's Netflix?
Or no. Not that one then. Fuck.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, that wasn't it. But there's definitely another one. But The Irishman was one that I was like, why are they waiting so long to put this out? And finally they did it. But the entire time I've been thinking about, well, what is that cover going to be?
Yeah.
What is it going to be? And I think that this is like the last one I would have thought of almost, but I think it's perfect.
It is perfect.
It perfectly accents the subtleness of the movie, and it almost feels like the Bressonian, L'Argent, like end of an era type.
If one moment could capture the whole movie. But we are not talking about The Irishman today.
No, we're not talking about The Irishman.
We're talking
However, I will run down the list of special features since it's here.
Okay, go ahead.
A new 4K digital master approved by Martin Scorsese. Newly edited roundtable conversation among Scorsese and actors Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, originally recorded in 2019, so I believe that's the Netflix conversation, just
Yeah, most
more of
likely.
it. And that was pretty cool. New documentary about the making of the film featuring Scorsese, actors, producers, director of photography, and others in the cast and crew. New video essay, the evolution of digital de-aging, archival interviews with Frank the Irishman Sheeran and International Brotherhood of Teamsters trade union leader Jimmy Hoffa, the trailer and teaser, plus an essay by critic Jeffrey O'Brien. And just a shout to artist Gregory Manchus for creating that gorgeous cover art.
It is a good cover.
Thanks, Greg.
But that's that. Just wanted to put it out there in case no one knew that The Irishman was coming to Criterion. It is. Probably right hot in the middle of the Barnes & Noble winter sale,
Nice.
November 29th or 24th. Same day as the Fellini box, another guy we've talking about later.
Later.
Eventually.
Oh.
About Fellini.
Yeah, will we?
I mean, he's got a lot. The Essential Films box that they put out has 26 movies in it,
That's
If
too
the-
many.
and that's not even all of them.
Yeah,
If we
that's too
haven't
many.
talked about this yet, just so the viewers know, Ceci is what we're gonna be referring to as the spoiled director because he's got 24 movies and we did them
25.
all. 25 fucking movies and we did them all.
It's going to be 26 with Killer of the Flower Moon, right?
Narrative
Yes.
features, at least. We did
Yes.
all the narrative features, and we won't be tackling a director this big anytime soon again.
It can't.
It's too much.
We started recording in January.
I'm glad it was Martin Scorsese, though.
There's been lots of reasons why we started in January and we're still going, out of our control. But
I mean,
also-
even still, we were supposed to
even
go
still.
till. Well, this
Hey,
would have if everything.
Quarantine?
Yeah,
Come on.
if everything was on track though, this would have been the last month, and we're only like 4 weeks off of that. 5 weeks off of that.
So
So a month off.
or 6, 5 or 6.
Doesn't matter.
It
Bottom
doesn't
line.
matter. Bottom line is it's too many movies to do consistently, at
Especially with a guy who makes things so consistent as Scorsese does.
least, which
but
is his
Narratively,
power.
at least.
And we're entering a new era of him exerting that power
It's crazy.
of a master.
We're in the latter half of his career, and he's just fucking like ramping it up a notch. I know that we
Two in a
haven't all consistently liked everything in the 2000s, or even like from the 90s and 2000s, but
Even from the beginning,
it just well, we've never all consistently liked things except for the best ones.
there's a handful that we all three agree to
I
the
feel
same
like there's
level.
probably like 6 or 7 almost. No,
I don't even
less?
think it's that many.
Mm.
Oh wow, that
Well,
sucks.
maybe now with this one and last week.
Ah, okay.
Spoiler: we like The Departed.
Yeah.
No, Brandon, are you the sailor pig that lost his leg?
I think it might be you, Frank.
I am the sailor pig that lost his leg.
I wish it was
Well,
me.
I mean, I'm not gonna say nothing. That's for when it's blunt.
Are you climbing up the top sails?
Because I lost my leg.
Yeah.
You guys, I used to love that song unironically because of this movie.
I mean, it's
100%.
understandable. I remember back in the day, just if it was used in a movie I liked, then I probably liked the song by proxy.
Yep. Like I was blasting this on my iPod.
It's also a hype song. Like, despite it being
fucking
awful, it is
it's
hype.
awful.
What scene is that playing?
The opening credits, that like loud Irish
Well, the
music.
the title card. I don't know if there's credits after that, right?
Right. It's the title card.
Yeah. Real quick, since we
Still.
are the safty, sassy stands.
Yes.
I'm such a son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You do it so well, Brandon, that it sounds like I added more already, and I'm like, what the fuck?
The sassy, sassy stands.
Yes, there you go. That
I
was
think I
perfect.
don't think
That
I've ever
was
said it right.
100% correctly. It must be the B. The
Forgot about
PBI.
B.
But anyway, I think the Safties must love The Departed.
Yeah, they got it.
They have to. Like, there's two specific things in The Departed that I'm like, the Safties use those same
What?
elements. We're
Tell
going to
us.
spoil The Departed.
Oh, no. Run away.
What about the other one? Are they both?
They're both, well, the one is the title card coming in way late.
Yeah, that's the good time.
Good time. Holy
both
shit, I'm
have
going to
the-
come. Like, I said that before Howie did in the theater.
I know.
2017, I was like, holy shit, I'm going to come.
If
When
you-
I saw that title card in, 20 minutes in a good time, 15 minutes?
something like that.
The
Just
Departed is
Departed.
like 20.
It's like 15.
It's even less?
I think it's even less.
Damn.
They just run it down.
It's crazy.
It's both movies.
You
do the same
forget that
thing.
it's going to come, but I think that that's what's so funny about it. Well, haha, pun intended. Not intended. Fuck.
Get it together.
I'm sorry, it's the B. The Departed has quite a big lead up to that title card, so you really do kind of forget completely that something like that might even come at all.
Yeah,
Whereas I feel like in Good Time, it does feel like you're kind of still waiting for it.
I don't know. I think they do it the exact same way. It's once the whole once all the stakes are set, it's
Mhm.
like title.
Yeah.
That
Like,
this
now
was
the
all
movie starts.
precursor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are there
Now
any
you're
other
in it.
movies that do that
I just
you
think
really
that's,
like?
I just think that's genius.
Those are the
That's so
two that
good.
hit me
Climax
the
is
most.
the biggest one.
Oh, yeah.
But that's like 45 minutes. That's like
Yeah.
the real
It's
big
just-
dick energy
You
move.
Jesus Christ.
Look how big my dong
I
is.
mean,
cinematically.
all of, a Pitchapong Workasol. I think
Really?
that's how all his movies have in the middle of the movie. It plays the credit again.
That's right, yeah.
That's the best I can.
In a
think
way,
of.
Scorsese kind of, with I Heard You
Tarkovsky does
Paint
too.
Houses.
Oh yeah. Well,
Just in the sense that, like, that was the last. I remember both you, me, and Nick all in the theater being like, what the fuck are we watching? The moment that I Heard You Paint Houses title cards came in, like, scattered. Like, they'd go back to shots and then come back to a title card to split up the phrase. It was really cool. I mean, that's Scorsese's literally, he says that's the title card of the movie.
yeah, he said that's the real title. They show it again at the end with The Irishman.
Yeah. So crazy.
He's like, this is what it's really called. But we gotta live with The Irishman. Thanks, Netflix.
Thanks, Netflix.
Corporate sons of bitches.
Yeah, corporate sons.
Fucking
of
whore.
But thanks for the Irishman.
when a movie goes for that, it's you gotta earn it. The
Yeah.
late title card.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you're not into it, you're just like, okay,
Yeah.
it's a bold move.
It is a really bold move.
And Departed is excellent.
Yeah, it really is.
So,
Though I hate the font of all the title cards in
I
this
think
movie.
it's hilarious.
It's so bad. It's just like someone was just like, just fucking type. I don't care.
That's what this whole movie.
It's like the
feels
Papyrus SNL sketch. It's like, really? You just had to put Arial in? 12 point?
I
What the
like
fuck
it.
is wrong with you?
It's down and dirty.
Boston, some years earlier
ago.
Keep
Keep going.
That's it.
Okay.
And then we go into Jack Nicholson's weird accent.
Non-existent accent.
Well, okay, because Jack Nicholson is somebody that's interesting in this because I hear a lot of people talk about how much they don't like his performance.
Which is bananas to me.
Well, I mean, I get it because it definitely takes a minute for me to warm up. I feel similarly to Pacino and Carlito's Way, though I obviously think that performance stands way higher than Nicholson and The Departed. But it took me a minute to warm up to that too because his accent in Carlito's Way is so obnoxious. But Pacino is such a good performer that eventually either I buy it inherently by just buying the emotion of the character, or I buy it because I love Pacino.
It's the de-aging.
with the de-aging.
What?
It's
In
just the
Carlito's
same-
way?
It's the same thing as the de-aging.
I
in
see.
the
Oh,
Irishman.
yeah, no, I see what you're saying now.
Like
I'm an
at
asshole.
first, it's very jarring, and then you're just like, nope, I'm running with this because this is great.
I
Like,
said
this
that
is
to
literally
somebody
great.
the other day, literally about the Irishman.
Because
It takes sitting with it for a second.
because Nicholson from literal frame 1 is just going for it, like insane, menacing. I'm a villain. I said it's the Joker.
Everything,
Yeah.
everything that I've been reading up about this movie, all it says is Jack Nicholson was like, "Yep, I just really want it to be bad. Did a couple comedies. I just wanted to be a bad guy." Like, and multiple sources keep reporting that he only did this movie because he was like, "I just want to be evil." And so when I see him performing, I'm like, I totally see that. He's
Yeah.
just having a great ass time.
Last
which
thing
is what the character is doing.
Last thing I'll say about Nicholson for now, because I know we'll talk more about him
Yeah.
later on. Well, because just to real quick accent, I feel like it's similar to his. Like you can pull the same idea from The Shining, and that like I think that's another performance when you look at it, you can be like, that's bad, right?
Some
Like-
people do think it's bad.
Yeah, but I think for the movie,
It's perfect.
It's perfect,
Ex-
and I think for this movie too, it is. Like,
He's literally doing everything he needs to do.
yeah,
It blows
Yeah.
my mind to this day.
and his
that
accent
people-
isn't that horrible.
It's pretty bad.
See,
You just hear too much of Jack in it.
to me, he just feels like a
Maybe.
character, and maybe it's because I'm not as familiar with Jack Nicholson, but just like the idea of the big mob boss that you're trying to take down, like I don't know, like he just felt more, and especially his use in the movie, he just felt more of like this person that needed to be there, and like he was like, I'm gonna play fully into that.
Okay, so that makes sense coming from a first-time viewer, because I think after you've seen this movie once and you know who Nicholson's character is from the jump, an FBI informant. You're an informant for the FBI.
I never gave anybody up who wasn't already going down.
never gave you up, Kali.
Crazy. Spoilers?
We've already established that
I
we're a
know,
spoiler-filled
you're right.
podcast.
Fucking. This is messy. Guy.
We have beer.
We got an out.
We're incorporating alcohol for the first time into the Chronic Canon, I think.
Not much of a drinker.
Not me
We
either.
usually just do cocaine.
Yes, that's
is
us.
Cocanic podcast.
Honestly, to be
Cocanic
honest,
Canon.
I feel like last episode I would believe it if I told somebody we were on coke.
Aviator?
Jesse, it's crazy at the
Is it?
start.
Is it?
The
At
opening is
least
wild.
it's just like, what is happening?
Just
you
edited
guys?
it like today.
It's hilarious.
It is hilarious. Anyway,
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson.
Perfect for the movie.
Perfect for the movie.
Oh, first time you've seen it.
Oh,
That's
yeah, but I think once you know that he's like an FBI informant and shit, he becomes a completely separate character because of the fact that he's just I don't give a fuck. Like,
Right.
I'm just
I
gonna
am-
do literally anything I want. I'm fucking safe.
he's
It's
a
basically
god.
like getting tenure. It's like I can do literally anything I want. I don't
Yeah.
give a shit. I'll show fucking The Shining in class.
Right. Well,
And no one can
Interesting.
fucking fire me. Anyway, so Nicholson in The Departed is a little. He's a little off kilter. He's doing his
A
Jack
little?
Thing. He's doing his Jack thing.
he is
He's
more.
jacking off in a theater.
He's equally good as a performance as the Joker. As this is his better Joker performance. He is better here as the Joker than he is in Batman.
That's probably fair.
Like
I haven't
literally,
seen that movie since I was
he's
a child.
just like fuck it. I want to watch the world burn. I
Now-
don't give a fuck. I'm a crazy old man who's been doing coke for way too long.
We can recognize that, but the Academy didn't recognize that. They didn't nominate Nicholson.
Fucking bananas.
But the Academy is something that we really need to talk about here because of the fact that The Departed
at the start,
is the very first Martin Scorsese movie to win Best Picture.
True that.
and his first time winning Best Director.
That too.
He won
very
BD?
prestigious BD. He went full hog.
DD.
Wasn't it Steven Spielberg and George Lucas and Francis Ford Coppola that announced Best Director that year? Like, imagine
So like all your
how
best
Because
friends.
we
sweet
knew.
all your best
I
friends.
knew. Yeah, like this guy's gonna fuck.
That's probably why they asked him.
They knew.
There's no way that you. Oh, it
wouldn't
just so
waste
happened
that.
to be his three best friends.
I wish Brian De Palma was up there too, but the Academy would never let that man be seen on their stage.
Yeah,
Why?
it's literally the three of them. Just like, hey, George. Is
So
that George
no,
Lucas?
they did a bit in the speech. I'm pretty sure from what I remember, where George Lucas and Spielberg and Coppola are both like, yeah, we both won Best Director, and Lucas is, or we've all won Best Director before, and then George Lucas is like, hey guys, not me. And we're like, oh, anyway, so the Best Director Oscar.
Damn. So no
He's
best
been
director.
nominated for Best Director 9 times.
leading up to this.
No, total.
Oh.
Three times after this for
Was he couldn't have
Hugo,
been-
Wolf, and Irishman.
Okay, he was nominated for Irishman.
So-
the Oscars are such a blur from this year. All I remember is Bong Joon-ho. Man.
Is Hugo
That's
that
straight up
good?
all I got.
I mean, I thought it was pretty great.
When it came out, I was a big fan.
Yeah, I saw it once in theaters. I remember thinking like, "Oh, this is good," and then halfway through, a new plot just kind of starts, and I was like, "This is fucking awesome! What the fuck is this movie?" I was so confused.
But it's like, does it feel like a kid's movie when you watch
Yeah.
it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
big time.
Nice.
Well, until the second half, and then I'm like, "This is an adult movie." I think. What's going on?
That's Martin Scorsese.
Yes, I think yes.
You know, but I mean, The Departed winning
Jesus
Best Picture is a huge thing, not just for Scorsese, but it's like the craziest pick for Best Picture, like in theory.
After Crash was the year before.
Yeah, that's right.
$1 Million Baby was the year before that.
That's correct.
And Aviator losing.
Yeah, so this is kind of their Hail Mary for Scorsese, probably not just as a career hole, but I think for The Aviator a bit too. Like you were talking about, given that it was being so touted by the Academy as far as nominations go. Because I think they look at nominations almost the same way as they do wins, just as prestigious in a way.
Mhm.
Even though I think if you win, that ultimately gets you more money. So
Well,
that's kind
that's
of
why you always say it's an honor to be nominated.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, you're giving me like free clout,
so much
basically.
clout. That's literally all it is.
and then it's
You
just
break it
bumping your
down.
price tag.
It's
More
crazy.
offers.
I didn't know until talking to you guys about how many people will go to the movies after hearing about which movies have been
It's like a
nominated for Oscars. Like that's when people really go out and watch and shit.
right.
January's huge for that.
They have normally those like weekend long like binge marathons where you can buy a ticket for like all 10 theoretical movies and watch all the Best Picture winners in a row. So then that way you're like fresh caught up the moment the Oscars happen.
I totally forget that Letters from Iwo Jima came out this year and
Yeah.
was nominated for picture and director.
I was gonna say run down the picture nominations for 2006. Well, 2007.
Real fast. Did I already say on this pod that this was the first year I watched the Oscars? Like by chance?
Yes, you have.
Cool. This is the first year I watched the Oscars by chance. The Departed won. Babel was nominated. Letters from
Inarritu.
Letters from Iwo Jima, Little Miss Sunshine, and The Queen.
That's the weird
Fucking-
one.
No, that's the normal
Well, I
one.
mean, like not for a Best Picture nom.
Bruh,
When it was
that's
5
the most like Oscar movie
for
ever.
acting.
Nah, even
I don't know,
picture.
maybe.
People, I think The Departed and Little Miss Sunshine are the weird ones. Like, how
What?
are you?
No,
both
The
even
Departed is
here?
now. The Departed is like a blockbuster, like
Yes.
No,
fucking
I mean,
like
it
for
makes
best
sense that it might
picture?
get nominated for Best Picture only because of Martin Scorsese.
What do you mean? It's amazing. It is a dope ass
It
great
is a
movie.
dope-ass
Hey.
great movie.
We're gonna get into this detail in a little bit.
It's just
but
like,
I'm
why
gonna
is
say
that-
my mission statement now? The department.
You did not do that on accident.
The department.
There's
No.
no way.
I didn't do that on accident. That was an accident.
What?
You figure it out.
Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't.
Maybe fuck yourself.
Maybe fuck yourself.
Anyway, The Departed is like pretty much a bad movie
What?
from a screenwriting standpoint.
Well, actually, I think that might be where it's the strongest.
Okay, hear me out though.
I think that.
Let's take a look at the other writing credits of the screenwriter of The Departed.
What is this
Which
podcast?
I couldn't tell you his name off the top, so I'm just gonna.
William Monahan.
William Monahan. Okay.
Kingdom of Heaven, Body of Lies, The Gambler, Edge of Darkness, Mojave, and London Boulevard.
There's a Netflix. I thought there was another one that I was like, ooh.
At least this is just movies. Maybe he's had some TV.
There's the potential. But regardless, Body of Lies.
No,
Also,
that's it. No TV.
terrible, terrible, terrible movie.
It's okay. It's fine. Not that bad.
Is
That's
that-
the only one I've seen. That's also Leo. Leonardo DiCaprio, Russell Crowe. Body of Lies. I don't know what you want from me.
Well, Edge of Darkness.
So
is
what's your
also a
point
pretty bad
about
movie.
William Monahan?
Point is that that's just proof in the pudding that most of his work is either mediocre to bad, like after and before. Like I haven't seen Kingdom of Heaven, but I know people talk about that just because of Ridley Scott, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like whatever, but I don't like Ridley Scott that much personally. Sorry. But the script is something that probably in essence is not incredible on paper. Like it's probably a standard crime movie that would be made by anybody else is, if anything, standard crime movie or even less.
Mm-hmm.
But in the hands of somebody like Martin Scorsese, it becomes nearly a masterful crime drama, which is pretty crazy, like given the content and how fucking like ridiculous it is and how over the top and obnoxious most of the plot devices and like elements of the movie that operate within it are. And yet for some reason while you're watching it, you totally buy it. And that's all because of Scorsese and the people that are involved in his crew to make that film behind him and the cast, which I think that at least as far as the last few movies are concerned, this might be one of his most perfectly cast movies.
Bro, that's like all of them.
I don't know.
I mean,
about
this
that,
one
though.
is the Aviator was.
The Aviator was perfectly cast. I forget it. Like The Aviator's a movie I literally didn't think about when I was thinking about
Gangs wasn't. Bringing Out the Dead wasn't.
Yep.
Kundun
It's fine.
was.
Well, Kundun is good.
Casino, I'd even argue wasn't. Okay, so it's been a minute.
Well, like where you get a stat cast, like I don't think there's really a miscast in this movie. Maybe Vera Farmiga.
She's good.
As good as
Fine.
everybody else.
Yeah.
Fine. She's fine.
Nobody else would have done like. Now that's a great role now. Like, you know, like nobody's gonna take that material and elevate it any higher.
That's fair.
I think she's good. She's good. What do you mean?
If not her, then the only person that I thought was
Maybe cast a real person from Boston
I mean,
just to
you
get
guys,
the accent right.
you guys know that movie Good Luck Chuck?
yeah, Jessica Alba.
Jessica Alba
Wait, Dane-
could probably do
Fuck
it.
Dane Cook.
out of here. Yes, the Dane Cook
I
movie.
haven't thought about Jessica Alba in literally years.
Jessica Alba would not be better than Vera.
Forgot she
Farmiga.
existed.
I'm just saying she could do it.
No. Literally no.
Why not? We're doing only Jessica Alba films for our next series, aren't we?
I forgot.
I'm giving up. I'm giving
The
up. on this
Fantastic Four
podcast.
original and sequel. Rise of the Silver Surfer.
I don't know where to go from here.
So
Where do we go from
anyway,
here?
do you guys think that the Oscars could have done better
I mean, they always
that
could've
year
done
though?
better.
Because I feel like 2006 is a relatively weak year, but you, Frank, keep bringing up to us privately, us being Jesse.
Brandon.
I'm Frank.
So The Departed and Miami Vice are
Yeah.
two movies that you could talk about in tandem.
They're basically, you know, two of our favorite people's late career, just like fuck it movies about the same thing in essence. Cops pretending to be criminals.
2 years
There's-
off the heels of their quote collaboration.
Right. 2 years off of their like interaction in the film world. And now they're both hitting high. Well, it's interesting that Scorsese hits high and Michael Mann basically ruins his career.
Yeah.
Like he still gets to make movies, but I think it's mostly because he gets famous people like
Right.
Johnny Depp and Chris Hemsworth.
People still
like,
want to work with him.
Right. If big actors like that didn't, I don't think Michael Mann could make movies
Well,
anymore.
what
I think people would be like, you stop wasting our money, Michael.
Well, they put Black
Miami
Cat out
Vice
in
was
February.
was a flop.
I think it maybe made back its budget.
Well, it was critically a
And
bomb.
yeah, people hated it. They're like, what is
still
this?
still do.
Yeah. They're like, what is this garbage
I
movie?
mean, it's understandable
I mean,
when you
you're
see
wrong.
the product.
Yeah, okay, it made like $30 million. But it was, it was a $136 million budget. They let him go. When you put that much money in, you're expecting like
Big
double.
buck.
Yeah.
Big.
I mean, it's a
Big
big
bank.
name title in theory, Miami Vice. But anyway, Miami Vice and Departed both deal with the issues of identity and,
How to live with it.
how to live with it and coping with lawmen and their undercover like lives.
Mhm.
So both movies just kind of go hand in hand in a weird way.
And I also think they're like two of the three best movies of the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the only other one in there,
Another movie about identity.
yeah, Inland Empire.
That's
David Lynch's
absolutely correct.
fucking also old master favorite who just kind of said fuck it in 2006
A bit, yeah.
and just went for it. Michael Mann and
Was
David
that-
Lynch obviously went way more like ballsy and off the wall. Like Scorsese, this is almost as him. Like it's his version of going off the wall, but he's still making a very conventional movie.
Yeah.
Like The Departed is not like hard to digest,
No.
but it's still pretty fucking weird.
It's it's a very accessible movie. If anything, it's one of Scorsese's most accessible movies.
I think it's him and Thelma's craziest movie, at least thus far, where it's just like, what are you, like, how does this literally work? You're doing movie magic because it is a bad movie, but it fucking isn't, but it isn't. It's amazing still and watchable and rewatchable and like almost addicting, but it's like none of this like you almost have to give extra props because it's like, what is this mess of a movie and how does it work so well still?
But I even think that within the frame of the stuff they were doing, he could have done things better, personally.
Sure.
But I mean, we'll talk about more of those details. I'm sure.
Literally, yes. Most movies, yes, can be done better. But what about the Oscars?
Well, I was just curious what you guys might have thought should have been nominated instead of, say, I don't know, The Queen.
Children of Men.
Children of Men is one that I'm surprised wasn't nominated almost. Has
Yeah.
Corone had awards recognition up to that point?
If there's any, it'd be this.
Thought maybe Prisoner of Azkaban could have gotten something, not like Best Picture. But yeah.
Children of Men was not. Oh, he got nominated for screenplay for Y Tu Mamá También. I didn't even realize.
Well, that's
that.
crazy. Not Best Foreign Language Film? Speaking of that,
Maybe.
another interesting element of The Departed, it's a remake of a foreign language film,
Oh yeah, Infernal Affairs.
which
Japanese.
you watched, Frank,
Yeah, I did.
at the behest of all of us, and yet Brandon and I screwed the pooch on that one.
I tried. It's okay. It's mostly just fascinating to see how different it was from The Departed and also how similar. But there's at a point I like turned my brain off from that and was just trying to absorb the movie as is, and it's like very okay. It's kind of ridiculous. It takes just the plot elements of The Departed and pretty much removes all the character elements, and therefore the movie just feels like a dumb action movie in a way, and it's like way too over the top, and it's like, what if you took all the things that are kind of like quote unquote stupid about the story of The Departed and just amplified it to 1,000? Like by removing the grounding of like the people and their lives and stuff, you just have this like absolutely absurd movie that also goes for it. And like half the time I was like, this kind of fucking bumps, and half the time I was like, this could end 20 minutes ago. Like
Jesse,
so it was okay.
you know the part in The Departed where they had The Departed, in the part in The Departed where they have the whole microprocessors heist.
Oh, yes, I do. I do remember that.
That happens in 20 minutes in Infernal
I
Affairs.
heard, and that's hilarious.
That's
I'm pretty sure
my mind was blown. I was like, how far am I right now?
Yeah.
I was only able to absorb 40 minutes before I passed out, just so everybody
crazy.
knows.
I walked in on you when I came back home, and you were sleeping, and the scene that was on the television was the scene in the movie where DiCaprio, I'm going to refer to it as DiCaprio and Damon for the sake of brevity here.
Yeah.
DiCaprio is on the roof of the building with the cell phone being like, I just want my identity back, after he just sent the tape to his apartment for his girlfriend to listen to.
I watched the ending with Frank earlier.
What'd you think?
I mean, The Departed was better.
The Departed is better.
So
The
what
Departed is better in every single way.
Is Infernal Affairs in the can?
No.
Okay, I didn't think it was.
It also, that's a vote all three of us have
I know.
to make, so it's not even up for debate.
Like actual debate, but I just wanted to hear your
But
opinion.
no, it would definitely not be in the canon. It's not even really worth watching. I don't think. If you love The Departed, it might be worth it just for the like, oh, weird.
There are quite a few people who love The Departed.
There's quite a few people who love Infernal Affairs, but
That's also true. What was it, like 90-something% on Rotten Tomatoes?
yeah, like 94. And people give it high marks and stuff. I don't know. I thought it was silly. And The Departed is pretty silly, but it was too silly.
I think that when
The
said-
microprocessor scene is amazing in Infernal Affairs.
Oh,
That might be better than The Departed one, because that's like honestly, I think one of the like the weaker like set pieces in The Departed. It's fine.
But isn't that the scene
Oh no,
where Alec Baldwin like flips
yes,
out?
all
and-
that's I forget the
And
cop.
that's I'm the guy who does his job. You must be the other guy.
Right, the cop side's good. It's just the crime side is like boring.
Yeah.
Where in Infernal
Jack
Affairs, it's both sides are super like tense and interesting.
Cool.
Yeah,
So
they
it's-
make
that
it pretty
scene
cool.
is like the one that's better. Everything else pales in comparison.
It almost feels like the Heat scene. Like, or at least that they're going for that.
Well, on both aspects, it felt like the Heat scene to me. No, and more so in The Departed, because in
Definitely more so.
in the Departed they do a whole like almost stare down situation where it's like they're not looking at each other, but they're both focusing on each other. They don't
phones.
really do that in Infernal Affairs, and it's much like the Heat version of them two literally staring each other in the eyes through steel walls. It's so beautiful.
This is Scorsese's Heat.
This
Yeah, it's
This
like-
is-
yeah.
I think
is-
we said that during the movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
Like this would have made more sense being a Michael Mann movie,
Yeah.
which is interesting because then he made Miami Vice instead.
But at the same time, well, no. 'cause
And
he
not that
can't.
Michael Mann was ever offered to make The Departed. But
No,
like,
that was
that
Aviator.
that seems more like a marriage that would make sense.
Right.
Than like, but this isn't out of Scorsese's wheelhouse.
No, certainly not. I mean, all the classic themes are there. He already made
Yeah.
this movie we talked about with Gangs in
Oh,
New
yeah.
York. He's, if
Yeah.
anything, only elevating that material, which is funny because we also talked about how that material was kind of
You guys,
juvenile, like
you
in a
know,
way.
I hate when you're correct, but you did you put it in my head like, wait for The Departed. This is how you feel about Gangs in New York. And after watching The Departed, I looked at Gangs and I was like, damn it.
Yeah, it's useless.
I
Son
hate
of a
that
bitch.
happens because I don't like the idea that a movie's value could be intrinsically like lessened by a movie that does the same things better. Like in theory, I don't like that idea, but it's just the thing.
Do
I
you
think
like sketches or do you like it when the
Paintings?
artist finishes
I
it
mean,
up?
I do like the painting.
What I was gonna say is, I think the only time that argument is valid is when you're referring one artist's work to an of that same
Right.
artist. I think if you're comparing Michael Mann movie to a Scorsese, then that's stupid.
It's like
then
apples
it's
and
just like
oranges.
that. Like Heat doesn't make The Departed irrelevant, even
Yeah.
though it's like Heat does everything The Departed's trying to do better. Like in
Right.
in theory,
Not a lot of
or
undercover
Miami
stuff
Vice
going on in that, though.
Fine, Miami Vice even.
You still have to be careful even if you're working with the same artist, because I hate one thing that I do hate about myself and about people in general, I guess, is like being like so retroactive where it's like, old is better, new is bad.
There's
Like,
the
I
same
hate
argument
that.
on the flip side too.
Exactly.
Some people think just new is better and old is dumb because you're building upon it.
And then there's
Gotta
some
look at
people
all
that are in
sides, man.
between.
Yeah, you got to try to take it at face value. We do decent at that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
well, at least we try. I
Our-
do think
our-
bias and personal preference does get in the way.
Our opinions differ enough where we have no choice. So
That's fair.
at least that's how I feel. If you feel differently, you can email us at thechroniccanon@gmail.com.
Or follow us on Twitter. Yeah, at Chronic Canon. And real quick, just because I know we never finished it, and I know Frank wanted to, I'd also probably nominate Marie Antoinette at the Oscars that year.
I mean, are we talking like movies that legitimately could have a chance? Because like Miami Vice and Inland Empire are never actually going to.
Well, if we're talking about
Children of Men, like could have. Marie Antoinette could have. Like you could
And-
buy that.
I think The Prestige might have been able to at the time.
I think at that time Nolan wasn't viewed seriously enough.
And that's another movie that's like, is that a bad movie
no, no.
elevated by good filmmaking?
No. The Prestige is a movie. The second time you see, it, you're like, this is literally like a perfect movie.
I
How
just
did
gotta
he do
watch
this?
it again.
First viewing, it's literally like that was fine.
I
What
gave it a-
happened? Okay, that was cool. I guess the second time you watch it, you're like, he's literally faking you out on what the fake out is. But then even when you know the fake out, you're still getting faked out, and it's a magic trick. The movie is a living magic trick, and it's like, right, that's.
Have you seen The
perfect.
Prestige,
I've
Brandon?
only seen it once and I gave it a 3.5 because I was
Interesting.
like, I don't
First
know
time I
what
saw
the
it,
fuck is going on, but I do know that it was kind of cool.
I do
Literally
want to see
same.
that again. I feel like that.
I
might
went
be-
from a
might be my
3.5 to
fave
a
Nolan.
5. That and Memento, I think, are like the easiest to be like. Those are masterpieces. Actually,
Interesting.
like nobody can deny what's going on in those.
Nolan is
So,
just
like,
one of those guys.
Yeah, I could maybe buy The Prestige retroactively being nominated. Inside Man was that year.
Oh, I haven't seen that, but I would buy that.
Spike
yeah.
Lee, little heist movie. It's dope. Little Children. I thought that was nominated.
I
was
think that
shocked to
Jackie Earl
find it.
Haley was not.
He was for sure. I guess people don't really like that movie. Oh,
Also-
obviously Running Scared.
Oh,
Paul Walker
perfect pick.
masterpiece.
Another Vera Farmiga movie.
Yeah, 2006 was a bumping year for her.
That is
Good
correct.
for Vera.
But interesting that you pointed out the acting we brought up the acting nomination for Best Supporting Actor because that is the only category in which an actor from The Departed gets a nomination. That's Mark Wahlberg
Which is insane
Kind of crazy.
because he's good, obviously,
for doing his Mark Wahlberg
for being
thing.
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
Yes, he's literally the like 6th best performance in this movie.
It's like, hey, just take what you normally do and like take it up.
Like Leo, Matt Damon, Nicholson all should have been. And if Martin Sheen snuck in like the Alan Alda for Aviator, I'd be like, I fuck with that.
Right.
Like he's great. And the
If
couple
anything,
Queen,
like
he's awesome.
Dignam is like the Pesci role.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, yeah. It's just a high energy dickhead.
Yeah.
That's
not
the Pesci.
not
Because-
nice, not tired.
Personally, I think that it's kind of a travesty that both Damon and DiCaprio were not given nominations of any kind. I know that
Yeah.
they gave DiCaprio Blood Diamond, which is a movie that probably also could have been nominated for Best Picture, but I also
Yeah.
haven't seen.
I mean, I loved it at the time. I've seen parts of it since, and it's I thought it was still good, but not nearly like amazing.
Right.
And his
But
ex,
Digimon Hansu is good.
he's amazing.
Yes.
Wah! Look at me. I don't even remember the whole thing. He's like, wah! He's naked. Like,
Oh shit.
give me my son. It's fucking
Dong?
son.
Dong.
No, I don't remember. Probably.
Okay.
It's not burned in the brain.
Are you Googling if
Yeah.
there's dong?
Dong? That's not the way. I put
Okay.
Digimon Hansu Dong ?
They give DiCaprio a nomination for that movie instead of this
Which
for
is
Best
insane.
Actor. But it's because they didn't want to nominate him for Best
I
Supporting,
know.
and he refused to go up for that category against any of his potential castmates.
I know. It's still insane
It is.
because he's
His accent
so
is probably
fucking
much
good.
worse in that movie.
It is.
I haven't seen it, but I can
It's
assume.
for sure is.
DiCaprio's not great with accents.
No.
However, I do want to talk about the fact that I think that this might be DiCaprio's most subtle performance, which is not how I remembered this movie at all.
It's 100,000% his most subtle
He is the
performance.
most subtle performance in this whole thing,
He is.
almost. I
He's-
guess we're talking about the main players.
He's the reason why it works.
Yeah.
Because he is the glue that holds the movie together. And I don't know, is he the main character? Should we get into that right now?
There's two. Well,
I
also,
know there's
I want to say,
two.
I want to say that I've only seen 18 movies from 2006, so my Oscar nominations would never be picked. But I would nominate Tenacious D in the Pick of Destiny,
I mean, only fair.
Monster House,
Also,
I
only
never
fair.
saw that actually.
Borat,
Yeah,
I mean,
Borat's
that-
pretty dope.
It's just a satirical time capsule.
Happy Feet, and then Pirates of the Caribbean.
That's the second one, Dead Man's Chest.
Yes.
That's my favorite
Oh.
at the time.
I was
I
gonna
have
say I
it-
could have seen Kurt. Wait, wasn't Curse of the Black Pearl nominated for Best Picture?
No
the first
way.
one?
Yeah, I think it was.
I think it was.
Nice.
It was a big deal because nobody knew it was going to be this like franchise thing that just randomly blew up.
It was,
Yeah.
a
It was just
movie
that
based
weird
on a
like
ride.
yeah, just like Pirates of the Caribbean. Johnny Depp, what he got nominated for an Oscar.
They'd
for
been
Best
trying
Actor.
to do that for so long, like get
Haunted
these ride
Mansion?
movies done. No, I think
Oh, that
Haunted
was the
Mansion
other way
came after.
around.
They kept doing it after that, hoping that they could
That's right,
bank off
that's
the
right.
success, and it didn't work out. There was a Tower of Terror movie too.
That's
That's like a
right.
TV movie with Steve Guttenberg and Kirsten Dunst.
I've seen 76 movies from 2006, and like I said, those Miami Vice, Inland Empire, Little Miss Sunshine, Departed, Children of Men. Those would be my five. Jesse,
I
what are your
didn't
five?
mention Miami Vice or The Departed for obvious reasons.
My five would be The Departed, Inland Empire, Miami Vice. What was another one that you
Marie
mentioned?
Antoinette
Marie Antoinette
and
and
Borat.
no, because you.
Oh, Casino Royale,
No, you and I definitely shared one. Children of Men.
Children of Men.
That's correct.
Great fucking movie.
Yeah. So that concludes that.
Oh,
discussion.
and just to fucking round it out at this fucking point, Children of Men got nominated for adapted screenplay, cinematography, and editing.
Wow. I'm almost surprised it didn't get picture.
Yeah.
But I guess if Corone had been nominated for Best Director.
He had no director yet, and then he just next time he comes around, they're like, "We won't. Here you go, take it all."
With the weirdest movie
Gravity?
you could possibly. Yes, it's the same
Gravity.
Scorsese thing.
It's
Even
great.
though it's like Corone is not nearly
Gravity.
the legend Scorsese is by the time it reaches
Gravity.
Gravity.
Kind of makes
Grav-
him the legend.
Yeah, it's funny how Scorsese was getting the Leo
Grav-
treatment that Leo hasn't had that treatment since 2015.
Grav-
Get out of here.
Can we not? All right. Anyway, I forgot what I was saying.
Leo
Continue.
got the treatment in 2015 with The Revenant.
Yeah, and Scorsese got that in 2006, 2006.
He ate a real liver after being a vegetarian forever. You had to give it to him. He's like,
Okay,
God damn it, you're gonna kill yourself.
For
next
years,
time.
everybody leading up to that was like, give him his damn Oscar.
Just fucking do it. He should have got it for What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
But Scorsese had been working for like 30 years, if not 40 at that point. That's
39.
nuts.
39 years
Yeah.
after his first movie, The
Here's the
Departed,
thing.
came out.
And if you're counting
Everybody
shorts-
wants an Oscar, but all the best fucking directors know that it's just a trophy at the end of the day. Ceci knew that he was something when he made Taxi Driver.
I think even Ceci was like,
No,
why
I think
are you-
Raging Bull might be the one where he was
Raging
like, I
Bull,
did it.
he looked, no, we're both wrong.
He still says that's the one. he's
Last
most proud of.
Temptation of Jesus Christ. He looked at his work and he said, fucking perfect.
Probably not.
I don't think so.
Maybe Goodfellas. I'd buy that. I did it. What do you want?
I feel like if anything, it's probably The Irishman.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
That's the one
No,
we're like, what do you what?
if he really believed that, he wouldn't be making another movie, you know?
That's fair.
I feel like at this point, he's just like, I like it. Leave me
Oh,
alone.
fuck yeah, he does. Little cutie.
He's like,
All
how
right.
much money are you going to give me this time, man? All right, should we talk about the movie now? It's
Yes.
been like an hour.
So I want to clarify that I should revoke a lot of the things that I've said about The Departed negatively on this podcast prior. The moment where DiCaprio stabs the shit out of the dude with the coat hanger was not nearly as bad as I remembered that playing in my
Nope.
head. Although a lot of the music choices are a little weird, but that's how it is in a lot of the Scorsese movies. I'm really fucking tired of the Rolling Stones. Fucking.
They're actually not in that many movies.
I do remember
Like 3 or 4.
like
Really?
when he was stabbing that guy with the coat rack. I remember in my head thinking like he should have a lot more wounds, but I was glad he didn't.
Yeah, it's a B movie. He said I don't know how to find this quote.
Bro, what was the budget? It's a B movie. It's
No,
like
no, no,
hundreds
no.
of millions.
I'm saying that's what Scorsese's motivation. He was like, I
think he
want to
knew
make
the script was not
like
the
it's-
greatest thing in the world.
Right, but he's like, I wanted to make something that felt like a 70s B movie. I wanted to go back to basics. That's how him and Thelma approached it. They wanted to go back to their origins, to their young days. Like, fuck it, let's make a like a
Within the
Mean Streets.
within the framework of 2006.
Of
though.
course, and with a big ass budget. It had I put these backwards. A $90 million budget, which today is 115.7.
Pretty big.
2006, and we're still with inflation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
28.5%. And it made at the time 291.5, which is today 374.6. Pretty confident that's his biggest hit thus far. Like he just
That
topped
makes sense.
himself because The Aviator was pretty fucking big, and then this was even bigger.
Look at
They were
what
just-
Oscar can do.
I mean, I think that might have been pre-Oscar. I think it was just like, holy shit, look at all these
I mean, yeah,
stars
look at that
in a
cast.
Scorsese movie, and it's about gangsters.
They're all
It
like
was
at
done.
the top of their
As
game.
soon as he
almost, too.
made the movie, it was over. Of course, he won Best Picture. What are we even talking about? This makes the most sense. This won Best Picture. Like you don't even have to see the movie.
I know.
Give it the Oscar. Fuck it.
I
in
know.
a sense,
If you just take it at face value.
yeah.
I know that the beard was for the heart of the departed, but the beard might have been a mistake because Daddy's really gotta go pee.
We'll go
so
pee.
I'm gonna go pee.
Now it'll be our private time.
We'll keep talking about The Departed. We're gonna find out.
Jesse,
What?
I got a question for you.
What?
I need you to answer me honestly.
What?
Do you like The Departed?
Yes, I like The Departed.
Are you a cop?
I am not a co-op. However, I do like The Departed more than I like Good.
Can I clarify something?
What?
More than like Goodfellas.
Yeah,
Jeez.
just a little bit. Just a little bit. Even though
After all the hate, after all the years of giving me shit.
I think that The Departed is more fun. I think I'll talk about The Departed more. I think I'll quote The
crazy.
Departed more. I think I will
Departed.
go back to The Departed more.
The what?
Departed.
The Departed. This
More
is a
often than I
podcast.
will Goodfellas. I think just because Casino gives me that same feel that Goodfellas gives
That
you,
makes sense.
and The Departed is just its own sort of silly riff on his own stuff.
I want to clarify that I personally think, like, yes, I've said that it's like kind of a bad movie. It's kind of silly, whatever. I also do think in a weird way the script is like a brilliant movie script. Like as far as movies
Could've been.
go, I think it is.
It's like I think that I think that plays into the thing that Scorsese's dealing with though, where there are things that could have been better and done like cleaner narratively, or even like maybe cut out. That like you said, it goes on probably a bit too long
I didn't say that.
in the end. I thought that that's what you were talking about.
No, I just said that. No, I didn't say
It has
that.
like 10 places where it could end.
I didn't say that.
You didn't? Were you talking about a completely separate
I
movie?
might have been talking about Infernal Affairs
Oh,
because
Well,
I
see,
disagree.
I don't.
I would-
I think
I
the
mean-
ending of this movie is where it has to end, but I do think that the movie is a little long.
I don't. I think it is almost a little short.
Maybe in the middle part.
On this last watch, I feel like it could have been a little.
back,
He's
baby.
not a cop. I could have spent a little longer. He might be a cop. He
Did you
could've
keep it
spent-
subtle? All right, keep going.
I think that I didn't. It's 1986, I guess, is when the beginning's supposed to be taking place. It's supposed to be 20 years earlier.
Is that ever established in the
No,
movie?
it's not said in the movie, but according to Wikipedia,
Okay, that's
it's
interesting.
1986. I
Some
don't know how
stupid
they figured that out.
fanboy. Okay, so Jack Nicholson's hair
Right.
is the dead giveaway
I
for
mean,
the year.
there's probably some date thing somewhere. Fucking.
They do nothing to make Jack Nicholson look younger at all.
No.
Scorsese literally doesn't give a fuck about age.
Because who
I
cares?
mean, 20
It's Jack
years-
Nicholson. I'm gonna see Jack Nicholson no matter what. You know.
yeah.
20
that's true.
years doesn't change that much. Like if he's like 40 and 86, then like
Yeah, he's got to be an old ass man. And
like
when
he was old and fat. Like I don't know, he seemed like an old guy.
he was old and fat in the 80s too. But you get the real world opening to start the movie. He even opens like Mean Streets, but the home video stuff is real. It's documentary. It's not Scorsese shot. And you get Nicholson doing like hilarious voiceover. I guess it's not. Do you guys think it's hilarious? I think it's kind of hilarious.
I think it's hilarious that it's him and he's doing his ridiculous accent.
Like I said, I got the first viewer sort of like highlight like lens over me. So it's like, I don't know, maybe on the second viewing I'd be like, this is silly, but trying to absorb all the info and trying to like pay attention to what people are saying, because of course this is a maniac and he'll put something in the middle or at the end of this movie that he referenced in the beginning without telling you that he's referencing it.
I think it's not silly. It's only silly because it feels so
forced.
Movie-ish. It just all feels like a movie. Like it feels like the guy's sitting there going, "That's a good line," for like everything, and it's like. That's where I'm like, it's a bit silly. But then as a movie script, which is what 99% of movies are, is a guy sitting there going, that's a good line. It's like better than all those. So fucking cool.
I don't know. Jack Nicholson's character definitely feels like he knows he's in a movie. And he's just like, yeah, this is cool.
And trying to pull the real world implications from the get-go. I think this is a very openly like cops are stupid movie. Cops are bad.
Much.
Cops are corrupt. Cops don't know what they're doing. And it's all superfluous. The cops and criminals chasing each other.
They make a lot of the cops into like clowns, like Wahlberg being like the key example. But even Alec Baldwin has his crazy moments, and I mean Damon is off his rock. But I mean he's obviously the most corrupt if you're looking at the straight characters.
Yeah,
we've obviously made some comparisons to Heat, but I think where the movies sort of are the most similar are sort of driving home the idea of what's the difference between cops and criminals. I like the way Heat does it, where it's a cop and a criminal, but the way that Scorsese does it, it feels like he watched Heat and was like, you fuckers, you don't get it. I'm gonna make the cop the criminal.
I'm gonna take it one step.
And I'm gonna
further.
make the guy that couldn't be the cop,
and he's
who's
a criminal.
also the criminal.
Yes.
And I'm gonna make the sergeant of the cop an asshole.
A comic book asshole. Like every line out of his mouth is another one that I would cite that same quote that Frank just pulled. That was a good one. Like every line.
Mark Wahlberg.
Like I'm the guy who did his job. You must be the other guy. Like that. Come on. I mean, it's great.
That's what I mean.
It's great.
T2 does that. Just watched that recently. The whole movie's just quips. All movies. Most movies are just people saying lines at each other.
Right. Well,
It's
I mean,
just like, and it very
Scorsese
clearly
went into the
saying
movie
lines
with
at
the
each
mindset
other.
that this wasn't as serious. Like,
Yeah.
And I think that that's what makes it interesting that it wins Best Picture at the end of the day too. But this is, you can feel that approach when you're watching it, and I think that having gone through his entire filmography up to this now was actually beneficial for this rewatch.
Bro, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I don't think Scorsese might be a genius, but I think that it's very, very intentional with this movie, the way that he uses comedy. Because now that I'm thinking about it, most of the funniest bits are between the cops. And when I think about any funny moment that happens with DiCaprio, it's because of Jack Nicholson, who is like this movie character villain. So, the whole movie, he's got you flipping sides, and you end up taking the cop criminal side more seriously than you end up taking the criminal cop side in the precinct and things like that. And I feel like that makes the ending so much more just like, well, what the fuck? What was I paying attention to? What's going on?
I guess, and then that shows Leo's the only serious person like in the whole movie. Like the whole time, he's very focused on his mission and trying to keep up his identity, because he's the only one whose life is literally in danger every minute of every day.
Right.
So it's not a game to him, but everybody else, it's a little detached and a little bit of a game. They're looking for each other. It's a game of hide and seek. Is he over there? Set a trap. It didn't work.
Just like you said with
God damn
they
it.
answer the phones because they want to know.
Yeah.
It's like both of them are on the phone because it's like, hello, want to know.
Yeah. Who's on the other end?
Yeah.
I gotta know. And DiCaprio's like almost the victim of the like movie in a weird way. Like,
absolutely.
He's like, he has the good intent. He's the only person with good intentions, honestly. Well, and like Martin Sheen and Mark Wahlberg, their little trio.
Oh yeah,
are the heroes of the movie.
Yeah,
this is the first time we get like a Scorsese, at least to me, we get a Scorsese pro tag that's like not an asshole in any facet. Like, you understand almost every fiber of what he's doing.
I mean,
if you
he's
try
still
to.
a person who chooses to like commit crimes in the sake of police, and he still chooses to be a cop.
I think
that's
also
the bad part.
But that's it.
it's being pretty evenly split with Damon, who is a complete and total shitbag.
Right. So he split them into two.
Right. It's like
Which-
it's. I was gonna say when you said
Helps.
is DiCaprio the protagonist, I'm like, what are we trying to get into persona territory here? Like, what's going on?
I just feel like Matt Damon is almost driving the story more than DiCaprio. And like Matt Damon felt like the focus to me, but this is the first time I ever felt that. My whole life I've been
that Matt
like,
Damon's the lead.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I firmly believe that after this one.
I mean, they're equal inevitably, but Matt Damon almost feels a little more to me.
He's the one that brings all the plot stuff in, like in the whole thing, and it starts with him as a kid. It's the
It
same.
does start with him as a kid.
It'd be like starting with Henry Hill and then saying Joe Pesci's the lead, even though Joe Pesci does get a lot of screen time.
No, I mean,
Or Frank, or not
it's-
Frank Sheeran, Jimmy Conway.
this is definitely closer to a split than any of those movies.
Yeah, that's
like all
true.
those movies have the clear cut. This is the person guiding you.
DiCaprio has his
through.
own plot. We never see the two of them together. Sans a couple of times.
Right.
There can be co-leads, right? Like two
Yeah.
people that are leads.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we've had this argument before on the podcast about movies and Oscars nominating the wrong person for the wrong thing because of awards politics and whatnot, but also because of the fact that it's just like, how do you define how a movie works too? Like from
Yeah.
that front, like how can you both be the lead? It doesn't make any sense.
I think it's only particular scenarios like this where it's
Yeah.
very clear, like they are both. Because I was about to say they're both equally driving the plot.
Yeah,
It
like-
bounces between who's forwarding the momentum of the
Right.
story.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it is DiCaprio learning something. It's when one of them learns
Yeah.
something new,
Yeah.
and it's never exclusively either.
I will say that I guess for Matt Damon's parts, everything did feel like the stakes were higher in terms of just like, because I was thinking about the impact that it could have on DiCaprio. So like everything that Matt Damon was doing, I was like, oh shit, this is directly acting against the person that I've chosen to care about. Because I feel like even though they blur the lines in the movie, and that's sort of the genius of it, they do make sure like DiCaprio's the good guy, air quotes, and Matt Damon is the bad guy.
Mhm.
So you intrinsically care about Matt Damon a little bit less than you care about DiCaprio, but you're just as interested in seeing Matt Damon's story go forward
Yes.
because they break him down as a person at the end of the day. He's not just
But I don't
the
think
criminal.
the movie's ever rooting for him.
No.
I think the movie's actually actively rooting against him, which probably is the genius.
I think that's why DiCaprio's there. Otherwise, it is rooting for him, and it's just a normal, sassy, bad boy movie.
Bad boy. I'm a bad boy.
Mm.
Is this Matt Damon's best performance?
It's my favorite, especially after just now having looked through the list, because you guys bringing it or talking about him only made me go.
I have
is
seen
it his best?
27 movies with Matt Damon.
That's
I did
wild.
not know that until this moment.
Yeah,
I think it is. Well, let me double check real fast. I think it is his best. I think the only ones that like compare weirdly are like Good Will Hunting and Margaret.
and I'd also put The Talented Mr. Ripley up there. I know
I
you
haven't
haven't
seen
seen
it.
it, but that's another movie that I'm like growing more affection for as time goes on, simply because it's like stuck with me in the rewatchable sense, where I'm like, I think about quotes and moments from that movie a lot, in the
Mhm.
same way almost that I feel about The Departed, where like the first couple times I saw it way back in the day, I was like, it's kind of dumb, kind of a dumb movie, and then now I'm like, I can embrace that, and let's find the smart, because the smart is there.
I think there's lots of smart. What
Oh,
we
yeah.
were just
It's how can you not with this?
just what we were just discussing, like the fact that he is trying to display the duality, but there is a clear-cut good guy and bad guy, and of course he then doubles it with the good guys playing the bad guy role and the bad guys playing the good guy role. So
Yeah.
there's an inherent conflict subconsciously your brain is having at all times, even though the movie doesn't even have to do that.
right,
Just
and
by
it's-
nature of how it's constructed, by giving them equal time and cross-cutting their lives so that they feel thoroughly like one. It's a movie leaning into the absurdity of all dumb crime movies, but like being more intelligent about it and letting it be like sleazy and dirty in the first half, and then it like randomly becomes like operatic in the second. It becomes big and dramatic
Right.
after being like almost like an action-y borderline in the first.
right, and it's obviously a choice to cast two of the
The biggest stars.
biggest stars in the world at the time, who are both beloved.
Yeah.
normally for protagonist, likable character roles.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you're muddying the
Well-
lines for both of them, but I think it's clear that DiCaprio is the clear protagonist if you're looking at it from the moral sense. And then Jack Nicholson is only there to exude total chaos and evil, literally the same way the Joker applies to the Dark Knight or any Batman movie.
And Martin Sheen as the good
Yeah,
opposite of Nicholson.
right, exactly.
you-
And he just sort of seems like your charming grandpa.
Right. And then Nicholson's the crazy grandpa.
Right.
What's your favorite Damon Brandon?
I've seen very little Matt Damon movies. Like, now that I'm looking at it,
Seen 23.
like, one of them doesn't count because it's just the American version. That's Ponyo.
That's one of mine. So,
Ponyo.
Yeah, 20. Well, I saw it in theaters when it was the American version.
Damon's
You did?
voice.
Yeah, so I heard.
Well,
Damon's-
okay, I guess technically when
He's
I saw
only
it
in,
on
like, 2
Cartoon
scenes.
Network, I've heard his American voice, but I didn't know it at the time.
he's just the dad, which is like literally 2 scenes. So, it's barely-
Good for him. So based off of this list, I'm not gonna count his scene in Thor Ragnarok because it's so tiny, but I got Interstellar, which I forgot that he was in that scene on the
And
planet.
he almost ruins the movie.
It's so funny though.
Exactly.
so
It's just like,
funny.
why is this happening right
Dude,
now?
but based off of this list, like The Martian's the only other leading movie that he's in that I've seen. I don't Saving Private Ryan doesn't count, right? It's just at the end.
Yeah, but he's pretty good in his bit. Margaret, he's a supporting role, and I think that's one of his 3 best because he's like so plainly creepy.
I got
It's very-
Contagion on here,
Contagion
which he
is
does.
great.
He does do a very good job.
He is quite good. in
Good
that
at
movie.
playing an everyman. Like
Yeah.
I believe that's not Matt Damon for a few scenes at the very least.
The
where
scene
I
in the
forget.
grocery store, I like is the one that I always think about. I'm like,
And
that's
finding
very,
out his wife is not only dead but cheated on him, and he's just like, she's dead. What do you mean, Chicago? What's going on? She was
no.
fine. She had a fever or whatever he shouts.
I really.
So I
don't
will
care
say
for
the
Martian.
Departed though, based off of what I've seen, The Departed is like the best thing that he's ever
The
done.
Departed.
I'll have to
is-
watch Good Will Hunting, of course.
The Departed is almost even more. It's like the evolution of Good Will Hunting in a weird way. Colin Sullivan, like they're both the Boston kids who are like smart ass, like way too confident dickheads.
Yeah.
But Good Will Hunting's arc is him learning to not be that way, basically. And The Departed is the opposite of that. Him leaning further and further into his selfishness.
Yep.
But
Just like a Safdie movie.
just like his half-
At a work the other day, we were talking about The Departed. We were talking about Matt Damon, and a certain coworker of mine was like, "Oh, I've seen a movie with Matt Damon in it. He's like a professor, and there's a janitor who solves an equation." And then my boss goes, "That's Matt. Matt Damon's not the professor." And he's like, "No, dude, he's totally the professor." And like this really old guy's the janitor, and he like is super smart. And we pulled it up, and I was like, "You're talking about Good Will Hunting.
and Matt Damon.
Matt
is
Damon's the janitor."
He is the janitor. The
He
movie's
is the janitor.
crazy, but it's great.
It is well. Also, when I looked at it, I was like,
Come
"Well,
on.
he doesn't look like old enough to be a janitor." So I understand where you're coming from, guy.
The just like
Departed.
last week when we talked about Aviator with DiCaprio, like that almost meeting, like like the perfect role for him to display his range and where it also feels in the pocket and like he's not overacting, which is often a Leo complaint, at least it seems. I think this role for Damon highlights all his strengths as an actor.
Oh, for
yeah.
sure.
Like letting him be not because he's like good at being charming, obviously, but there is that like douchebaggery just there.
This
Oh my
whole
God.
Because it's
movie,
from fucking Boston. I'm
From the
sorry. If
jump.
you're from Boston, I'm sorry.
this whole movie, I was like, "God damn it! I just want to see you get hit."
You do a few
You do.
times.
Oh, quite a few.
Dude, okay,
Leo
at the end, it was gruesome.
Shut the fuck up.
Oh, dude,
Like,
that
I
one
wanted
was
to look-
brutal.
I
It was
wanted to look
hilarious.
away. I was like, "Oh my God, stop!"
And then you have the ultimate bitch moment. Just fucking kill me.
Come on, man, just
Just
do it.
shoot me. You're dead anyway.
Damon is so good in this movie. He's my
so
favorite
good.
performance. I
Okay.
know that DiCaprio is doing some of his subtlest work, which is a
I don't know if
very
he's my
rare
fave.
thing to hear about DiCaprio.
Yeah.
But I just am shocked that I was even enamored with Damon at all.
I
Because
think-
there's like no other performances other than like Talented Mr. Ripley and like a couple others that I'd even tout as being like great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's good in like virtually everything he's in, but because he's normally cast for being who Matt Damon is. But this is taking Damon and like evolving that persona into a realm that's different. He's being Damon, but there's a twist to it.
So Forrest Whitaker won for Last King of Scotland,
That's
Best
right.
Actor, which I've never seen, and Alan Arkin won Best Supporting Actor for Little Miss Sunshine. And I think they both should have won.
Yes.
Like DiCaprio and Damon. Neither was nominated. They both should have won. Period.
Yeah.
Like Damon,
Alan Arkin is great in Little Miss Sunshine.
Of course
but
he is. The
being
fucking
himself.
chicken. That's all I can think of. It's a great movie.
Not
great
overcooked.
performance. No.
That's from
No.
Heat.
Yeah, I have
That
the
one's-
vaguest memories of Little Miss Sunshine. I just know it's my first Paul Dano movie.
It's a good one.
I just remember
It's
seeing
probably
it
my
as
first
a
Paul Dano movie too.
seeing it
Most
as a youth
definitely.
and being like, dysfunctional.
Precisely.
Like,
Great movie.
Only thoughts I could take away. I haven't seen it in like a very long time.
Another movie I've seen a lot of times,
Probably since like 2008.
Right.
along with the Depad. But Leo,
Yeah.
and his subtlety. We keep saying he's subtle and he's great. I mean, for literal years, I'd go to bat saying this was his best performance.
I mean,
I'm still with Howard
if I
Hughes.
hadn't seen Aviator, and when I seriously think about the evolution of Howard Hughes, definitely displays more of a range. But I don't know. I might like the character of Costigan a little bit more.
I mean, there's obviously more. Well, there's at least just as much going on theoretically, but the movie doesn't devote enough time solely to him to have it feel as lived in as it does in Aviator.
I
Yeah,
think it's
no,
insane
of
how
course.
out of the conversation the Aviator is in his lexicon.
I
like,
think-
even from most people, like just are like, yeah, the Aviator is fine.
After rewatching both, I do think The Aviator is ultimately his towering achievement. But I think this isn't far off. Like, people even complain about this performance.
I know.
And it doesn't make
Well,
sense.
I did.
Yeah.
And I understand like the complaints from that perspective, and that like, yeah, he's still doing his DiCaprio thing, but it's the same thing as casting Pacino in Cruising. You have to cast somebody who is innately sort of uncomfortable and off in that role because that's not who they are.
Mhm.
But the more they fall into it, the more you start to buy it. And I feel like that is the way I feel about DiCaprio in this. And like, I read a quote of his that he performed the character as if the character was having a 24-hour panic attack.
Yeah.
And that reads like in the movie. Like, you can, even in his moments where he's being quiet, he looks like his entire body is completely clenched up.
Mhm.
Like that scene in the police office with Wahlberg and Martin Sheen at the beginning, he looks like he's gonna pop.
Well, I was
Well,
about to pop. I
once
was like,
they
shut the fuck up, Mark. Jesus.
When he first walks in, he's an eager cadet, and he has that like stand tall, like eyes forward, head up, and by
Yeah.
the end of the scene, he literally looks like he's gonna explode. I think I said it at the end. I realized when he was carrying Matt Damon to the elevator, like he does, and then I thought about it retroactively. He gives an amazing physical performance. Like he feels like a living human being in those short scenes they give him where he's like freaking out, crying, looking at pictures, taking pills, talking to Vera Farmiga. Like all the scenes with like Nicholson and everybody, he's like the new Ceci where he's just playing off people.
Mhm.
He is the scene partner in most scenes, but the scenes where he's the focal emotional front, he never takes it like so far that it's ridiculous or unbelievable. He does have a lot to do here.
It's as if he's asking, well, he being Scorsese is asking DiCaprio to play, like is asking Costigan to play Pesci in a Scorsese movie. Because I keep thinking about the fact that it's like he flips out like a lot in this movie. He does go over the top. Like,
Yeah.
he does scream
It's
in
the-
DiCaprio
yeah.
fashion. He does smash glasses over people's heads and beat the fuck out of people. But doesn't that kind of sound like Joe Pesci a little bit?
Yeah.
Especially when you're considering mob stuff, and like the only thing
But
that
we said the Wahlberg was the Pesci.
Wahlberg's the Pesci in the just like crazy, chaotic, I'm here, look at me. But it's like when you think about from the perspective of in the crime movie, if you're separating it, I didn't state that, but if you're separating it between the cop movie and the crime movie, he's sort of filling in a Pesci void. Even though fucking
Nicholson. though.
Nicholson, but at the same token, Nicholson's doing something so like innately Nicholson. Like it's just, it couldn't be anything but him.
Hmm.
But I think he did that himself. I think if you gave another actor that part, it's a different part.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think most people would play it that big.
No, probably not.
I don't
Pacino
know, man.
would.
I don't know. I know how Frank feels about it. I'm not sure exactly how Jesse feels about it, but I really like it when you make pretty people do weird things. Like when you take someone who's just gorgeous, like Leonardo DiCaprio, and you don't put them in like your stereotypical like rom-com where it's like, oh, him and Vera Farmiga form a connection, blah blah blah. Like, no, you take this pretty boy and you go, all right, let's throw him in the dirt.
He and Via Farmiga do kind of form a connection.
But like they don't let you see it play through.
It can't play through.
But even before, he gets pop, You know, like they don't let it play through. Like it's seen as like a mistake in her eyes, but there's a longing
She's at his
for a
funeral,
connection.
man.
Yeah, now
It
he's
might have happened.
dead.
But if he didn't die, if all of it would have went the happy route where Damon goes to prison,
that's different. But that didn't happen.
no. Well, I think
And
it does
before
ultimately. Well,
before
Damon dies. He goes to fucking eternal prison.
before he dies, even, you know, it seemed like they weren't in contact that much. When he rushes to her house and he's like, I know I'm not supposed to do this. And like they had like a one-on-one conversation before, but she was basically like, yo, I can't, like we fucked. We can't do this anymore. Like I have a boyfriend and we're going to get married and stuff. Can't do that.
But that won't happen.
No.
So.
There's that.
Anyway.
So that's what I really like about Leo's performance is that, you know, he's not a person that you would conventionally expect just looking at him playing this role, and he does it so well that it takes it, you know, sort of takes it off of like the actor movie star sort of glamour on it. Like, I don't know, it sort of plays into his favor. Whereas like if a big time actor, you know, is in a movie, I sort of maybe have to spend like half that movie separating, you know, themselves from separating the actor from like the character, unless it's like a really great movie. And I think this is an example of that, where it's like I don't really care that it's Leo. Like, look at this man who's just like trying to infiltrate the system and losing his mind in like the same process. It's crazy.
See, I get what you're saying because I'm with you on that and putting actors in roles that they're not normally suited for. Like I'm pretty sure I've even heard Scorsese was skeptical about putting DiCaprio in that role originally. Also funny that Brad Pitt was apparently supposed to play that part. And then he inevitably went over to Matt Damon.
Oh, I've
And then
only
he was
seen
like
that
on-
this was always Leo.
I thought I read something that he was like considered for both and ultimately was going to be put in the Colin role, but then he backed out himself because he was like, yeah, I can't, too old.
Yeah.
And,
And also Pacino was
but he
his
produced
first
it.
choice for
yes.
Nicholson. And also he wanted
Imagine
Mel
Pacino.
Gibson to be Alec Baldwin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did read that.
And
But his movie was in the way, and not Invictus. Sorry.
no.
No, that's Clint Eastwood. I think.
I know.
Wait, Apocalypto?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
God, you do it so good, Brandon. Sounds like the recording.
Yes.
DiCaprio is good in this, like really good. I do feel like I still see DiCaprio, but I don't think there's ever a movie DiCaprio's ever been in where I've completely not shed DiCaprio from it.
I see all the actors acting in this movie,
But
but
they're
I don't
all
think
huge
that's
big
a bad.
actors.
And I think this is a huge big movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's going for it where it allows the actors to act. And I think that's what sells it. This movie never pretends it isn't what it literally is.
Right.
Like it's never trying to be something smarter or better than what The Departed can be
Right. Exactly.
at the end of the day. And I think that like letting everybody just kind of go for it makes it all work.
Yeah.
And like this cohesive unit, which just propels Leo's. Leo's thing. I feel like I can read his I feel his emotions better here than almost any movie. Like I look at his face and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, because they don't necessarily devote enough time to any of the characters, even though there's still lots of character time. Like Scorsese doesn't know how to not focus on character, and there are lots of scenes that aren't necessarily moving the plot forward, and you get to just know these people and how they live and how they relate to each other. But like, there's still something that I feel like you could have even had even more of that, but you lose
In
some
this
because,
movie, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I
Yes.
think that the thing that hinders that is the undercover element.
Well, it's because you have a lot of plot to get through.
That too.
There's two different main storylines, so you're going to be shafted somewhere.
Right.
Somebody can't have a full devotion of a movie being about them.
Unless it's a miniseries.
Yes.
Mhm.
Or longer or whatever. Like, that's what I'm saying. So that's like, I think he picks up where the movie inevitably fails because of how good he is. Just to bring it full circle to what everybody has already said. Leo, good. Matt Damon, better. Maybe not better.
They're
2 out
both,
of 3
they're
say
both
better.
real good. That's two of their best performances, no question.
Yes.
Yes. And probably Nicholson.
Like,
Like
one of
in a
his
weird
best?
way. In a weird way, yeah.
I'd have to look at his.
I mean, I'm not
filmography.
talking number 1, 2, or 3, but like maybe in the 5 conversation.
I just anytime I think of Nicholson,
I prefer
think
this
of Five
to
Easy
like
Pieces.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
I like that book. Never saw the movie.
I need to see
Movie's
the movie
fine.
again, but the movie's another one that has lost its grace in my mind.
Movie's
over
They're
fine.
time.
making a
He is
prequel.
Great.
It's
Yeah,
so
they are.
weird, isn't it? Ryan Murphy again.
this.
Motherfucker.
Won't go.
Ratchet.
God damn it.
The movie's crazy. Thelma and Ceci,
Yeah.
I think, go hand in hand. And I said it earlier, and now I want to talk about why. I think this is their craziest movie to date because it's hanging on by a fucking thread. The timeline on this movie makes no sense. They pull a straight up black hat, and nobody blinked twice in The Departed. I mean, some people have blinked and been like, what? But like it moves so fast, you almost don't have time to question anything.
What part?
And it intuitively always makes sense, which is what is like the power of what the two of them are always doing. What I mean is, like, even in the literal opening, you get, or opening sequence, I should say, you get a clear-cut example of, like, this is just wrong, but you're making it work anyway, where it cross-cuts between Damon and DiCaprio, both in the police academy, and then it cuts to Damon getting the job and, like, walking out of the office and DiCaprio going in, and then, like, Damon gets like 3 promotions real fast, and then it shows like DiCaprio still. No, wait. Damon already that's him getting the promotion is when he comes out of the office, excuse me. But they have him cross-cutting. Damon's already gotten like 3 promotions by the time they finally show DiCaprio like getting in to the office. The point is their timelines do not match up at all.
No.
Damon would have had been doing that for a long time before DiCaprio could have even started the training program. And yet they play them side by side as if they're happening at the same time when they literally could not be.
Okay.
But it puts them together because emotionally you're following where they're at.
But in the
stories.
Do you think that in the movie they're next to each other though?
That's what I'm saying. They literally can't be, but they cut them together as if they are. They bring no attention to it being at different times, and they even cross their paths. I think they sat there and were like, we fucked up. We didn't realize that we were missing pieces or something. And you just have to go for it and edit it that way.
I remember saying that at some point, just like, wait, they couldn't have been in the academy at the same time, right?
No. And it does shit like that.
No, yeah, they were in the academy at the same time.
It literally cuts from one of them to the other one in the academy.
Yeah.
Right.
So I see where that confusion comes from.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. Now I see what you're
It's
saying.
the whole thing I've been talking about is at that point.
And that's
I missed that you were saying the front. I thought you were talking about the entire movie as a whole.
No. But, well, things like that happen throughout where, like, I'm trying to remember the other one. Like, when he goes and sees Vera Farmiga and she's, like, the moving out, but they had, like, just moved in and, like, how long they've been dating. There's, like, there's just inconsistencies of, like, when scenes are happening in relation to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they call back to moments that it's, like, this is a continuation from that thing, but this happened in between, but it's like, that's the same moment. I can't think of another definitive example other than the police academy stuff because that one is so fucking apparent to me.
Well,
but there's quite a few moments where it's like, this doesn't logically make sense. Like time is all over the place and sloppy, and I feel like it's a fault on maybe the script, maybe not, but they edit it in a way where it literally never matters either. The movie is always emotionally flowing.
The part where he says, "It's been a year." I'm like, what? It's been a year? And it feels like a mistake. It doesn't feel like it's like, oh, wow, that's crazy that we've already a year deep. But I mean, like, they just rush through it, it feels like.
That's what I'm saying. They make it work.
Yeah.
It, like, you don't bat an eye. You're not like, it hasn't been a year bad movie. You're just like, okay, I guess it's been a fucking year. Sure, why not?
I guess in my head, I'm like, let's just cut the line at that point. We don't need to establish what the time is almost. Like, if in theory. But I mean, like, at the same time, like, you do want to establish, like, how intense this has been for all these characters. Because if it's been a year, you can totally see why DiCaprio is losing his fucking mind.
Exactly.
As opposed to why it feels like 2 weeks, you know?
And it's also, like, kind of the worst offender of the Scorsese jukebox, only because the music is almost so non-distinct, but it's absolutely constant and very jarring to me because I'm so familiar with it. I like know when the change in music's coming, like I anticipate it, but the music is constantly changing. Where like it'll play like 30 seconds of a song, it'll go into the next song, and it'll go back to the last song. And I think with Gimme Shelter, they replay the same part like 3 times.
They do.
It's like it's insane. It feels like it's trying to appeal to this like raw sensibility that Scorsese's been tapped into for fucking 40 years at this point.
Yeah.
But like it like shouldn't work. None of it literally should work, and yet it still does. And that's why I think this is like, because it's such a easy to watch movie, and you're never like actually lost at what's going on. You always know what it's like. It's like when people talk about what's a bad fight scene and what's a good fight scene. A bad fight scene is where you're spatially unaware, like where is anybody in relation to people, and the best ones are the ones where you clearly know all the things going on, where people are, and what the stakes are. That's like The Departed is a long form fight scene in that sense. There's so many moving parts at all times, and you never lose any of the threads. And it's still going for this crazy manic energy where there are sudden speed ramps, or the inclusion of the documentary footage, or fucking with the temporal space of like linear filmmaking for the sake of emotional filmmaking
Without addressing it.
And constant songs, and then these poignant moments of silence throughout. Like it will just like suddenly there's no music, and it's always like, okay, I guess this is different. Like, well, now I'm real focused. Classic fucking cess. And just like freeze frames in the big shootout for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like a guy gets shot, he leans his shotgun in the air, and then it just freeze frames. Literally, why? Because this movie's insane. I think it's their craziest job from a directorial and like so many weird camera moves. Like this is the first time I picked up the scene in The Office when Wahlberg and Sheen are grilling DiCaprio is filmed very, very weird. It's a bunch of singles, but he keeps like dollying into everyone's face over and over.
Also thought the lighting was pretty weird.
Pretty weird.
Like everyone's face is pretty overexposed. I mean, like it seems like they're trying to intentionally put highlights on everybody's face to make it.
It's Ballhaus trying to replicate Richardson.
I thought that, but then I was like, Ballhaus is also such his own entity that it's almost seems odd that they would be trying to go for something like that.
Feels the least distinct of his works.
Yeah, no, I agree. But
that just makes it weirder to me.
But see, like I think the opening is where you get the most Ballhaus, where he's doing all that expression with shadows and keeping Nicholson in the shadows specifically, and like working with those crazy moves and things like that too. But it's funny that you meant or say that it's their craziest, because I think I would have agreed with you before the rewatch, and now I'm like, this almost feels tamer than other things. But I see what you're saying on all fronts.
I think it's the craziest because of how normal it still feels.
Right.
Like this somehow just feels like a movie, and none of it should. Like if anybody else did, I can't.
In other hands, this would be probably abysmal.
It would be trash if you had all the same footage,
especially
and it wasn't Thelma. I think this movie could have easily been a terrible movie.
Yeah,
literally all the same.
Does she win for this?
Yeah,
cool.
Good for her. Good call. And I think, didn't she win for Aviator?
Yes.
So she won 2 in a row. They
Yeah.
were just like, take it, take
Good
it.
shit.
I think Thelma's won quite a few now. I think, did she win for Wolf of Wall Street also, or is she just nominated?
It's getting
She's won
hot.
3 times. Aviator, Departed, and Raging Bull. She was nominated for Woodstock, Goodfellas, Gangs of New York, Hugo, and The Irishman. Wasn't even
not even nominated for
Wolf,
fucking Wolf of Wall Street?
which is also one of her craziest fucking editing jobs.
Yeah.
Like
Scorsese
insane.
is getting ridiculous with the whip pans.
He's going big. He's
Like,
getting,
but I just mean that there's so many, and there's so many in every movie now. Like the last 4 or 5, I'm just like, the whip pans. Jesus.
they match his energy.
That's
I
the
know.
thing that I recognize. Like, I don't know, like the way that I don't know much about camera moves and behind the scenes and lighting and stuff, but I remember and I think I've seen Wolf of Wall Street twice, and I think both times I saw it, I remember being like, it just feels like things I'm looking at. It's all happening very fast. Like everything's like it's just fucking happening.
That's Scorsese's first with Prieto as cinematographer.
Prieto. Who's that?
He's the DP of all
Well,
Sesse's movies.
we'll
Wolf
talk-
of Wall Street on.
We'll talk about him.
So he shot The Irishman, which is another one that feels more like this, where it's like almost functional more than anything, and yet finding style within the functionality.
See, I think that cinematography is so brilliant. I think every
it's-
single shot in The Irishman is so calculated, and I think
know.
that it clearly
I'm
doesn't
saying it
look
doesn't-
like that. Like
Right.
it's designed to not feel calculated.
It's not flashy.
Yeah.
It's what it needs to be.
Yeah, I do think though that you can apply Scorsese and Thelma's like energy back from like Raging Bull to this, in the sense where I think that they probably were in the trenches trying to decipher how to put this weird hodgepodge of craziness together in the editing room, and somehow managed to pull off this product. It is impressive. There's no question about
Somebody earlier said that he was working on it 3 days before it was due or whatever.
Brandon did,
Yeah.
yeah. And that did not shock me at all, because a lot of this feels like a rush job, but simultaneously it feels like that matches the energy of the movie. Like the movie is stressed out. The movie is like working on a bunch of cylinders and confused because nobody knows who's who, and fucking everything is all over the place.
It feels like since after Kundun, Scorsese has been directing all of his movies while standing on a wire, where he's just like, fuck,
I'd say after Bringing Out the Dead.
Yeah.
I'd say the new age has been him, like,
Just like being, everything feels frantic, but in like the best way, where like
frantic and big.
Yeah, shit keeps happening to Scorsese, and he's making it work like he always has, but like somehow, like now it's the most intentional, unintentional thing, where it's like before in his younger career, it's like, nope, we just got to run with this because like this is just what I have to do. Whereas now it seems almost like Scorsese wants things to be happening to him so that he can be in that element. Like, I'm sure that he didn't plan for this movie to be as fucking wicked smart, wicked crazy as it is.
Good Will Hunting.
I know.
My boy's wicked smart.
Boston.
How do you like apples? Do you like them?
No,
You don't like apples?
I do like apples.
Well,
how do you like them apples? Jesus Christ.
I wasn't going to do it. I was just going to stop. Like the movie Kind of Black, like Avengers? That's what happens in Age of Ultron.
Oh,
He doesn't say assemble. They cut to black. Isn't that brilliant?
no.
I'm sorry. Somebody pointed out that I intentionally bring it up. I think it was Nick. Nick was like, it's because you intentionally jab at Marvel that it makes Brandon upset. Because I was being like, I just wish he would stop being so upset that I hate Marvel. He's like, well, you intentionally make him
You
mad.
bring it up,
And
all
I'm
the
like,
time.
I really don't. And he's like, well, then it's subconscious because you do. And I was like, fuck, you're right.
You're always like, well, it's like with Marvel, and they saw. It's your easiest comparison, but it's okay because I hate David Lynch, but I don't. I at least respect him.
I respect Marvel in some sense. I do not know what you were talking about.
No clue. But like, this movie is wicked crazy, and I don't think that it was the most intentional thing. Like, he was working on it 3 days before he released it.
Right.
Like, things had to have just been sort of happening, but I also feel like he wasn't upset with that. That's when he's at his best, and he knows that now.
Has become a mess of a human, but we could discuss Kanye fucking 3 days before on Yeezus was still working on it.
Literally.
It's the best album.
I'm pretty sure Wong Kar-wai was editing In the Mood for Love like the day it premiered at Cannes.
Like, sometimes that's
Something
what it
like
fucking
that.
takes.
Yeah.
You have the deadline. You have to make decisions. You can't think twice. You just got to use your instincts.
Mhm.
And maybe that's why it feels so much like this is in the pocket, Ceci, because it's all instinctual. This is not something he even has to like sit there and ponder and deeply think. It's all natural at this point, especially after something like The Aviator, which is like, is a super calculated, big, like thorough, I have to think of all these elements, like a big movie, where this movie has almost as big a budget as the fucking Aviator. And it's like, on what?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're just like, I don't even know.
Well,
Actors,
they of the $90 million budget, Ceci said that half of that was to pay the actors.
it makes fucking sense. You have
and probably
stars.
rights to the music.
I
that he
do
uses.
remember. I do remember reading that. He was like, a lot of money went to paying Mark Wahlberg, Matt Damon, and fucking Leonardo DiCaprio.
How do you guys feel about the violence? Given
Fucking toned down compared to usual, Ceci.
is, well, I mean, like, do you feel like it feels realistic, grounded? I feel like it has its moments.
It has its moments.
I'm not like a gore person or a gruesome guy, but like, I feel like it's not necessarily cheap, but I think that if you're gonna show violence on screen, it takes it away when you don't show the violence, because then it doesn't feel like you're like, whenever Ceci has done violence in one of his movies that I've been able to see, it always hits different.
Yeah.
Like,
he always gives the realistic weight of the violence.
Right.
Almost always. I can't think of a time he doesn't.
Maybe in Wolf of Wall Street, if there is any.
I don't think
only because everything feels glamorized on purpose.
I don't think it's violence.
I don't
really.
think there's much like, except for with Jordan Belfort.
Robbie.
And yeah, with like between the two of them, but like nothing like ever like too crazy. But I don't know. I just feel like when I think about violence in sassy movies, I think about Casino and I think about The Bats.
Yeah.
And then even after that, like
And Taxi Driver.
this movie doesn't
Goodfellas.
to me. This movie doesn't get gruesome until the end. With
It gets very gruesome.
with the shoot with the
shootout?
with the mini shootout.
And then the mini shootout. Both the big shootout and the mini shootout are both
But-
pretty violent.
Very
Nicholson's death is pretty fucking violent.
Yeah. And all the guys dying before that. Ray Winstone shooting himself in the head as he
That's
blows
insane.
up.
Yeah, it really
Fuck
does.
it.
It reaches an apex towards the ends with violence. Because I feel like, if anything, because I thought about
whole
that once
movie's
you said that,
building.
there's a lot of implications of violence,
Well-
Nicholson holding the hand in front of DiCaprio,
Right.
and like.
But there's also like Ray Winstone choking out his wife. There's
and it's a very brief cut,
right.
too.
Leo smashing the glass and beating that guy up.
Yeah.
Leo shooting the guy's kneecaps to
Yeah.
get the FBI information.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely violence, throughout the whole
Right,
thing.
yeah.
Oh, the mini shoot Martin Sheen
Yeah. The
getting
coat
thrown
hanger
off
thing.
a fucking building.
Well, I wanted to bring that moment
blood
up
splat.
because how'd you guys feel about that blood splat? It kind of felt a little fake.
I love it.
I mean, I like the idea, but the splat itself looked a little like it just looked a little clunky.
I disagree.
I mean,
I didn't
humans are
notice,
full
at
of
least.
blood. You drop them
It
from
was
a high
it was
enough height.
it was too little amount of blood.
It's like a balloon, but it doesn't all come out.
A human jumped from a building. Well, not jumped, was
Thrown.
thrown from a building, lands on the ground, and it was like
pushed?
like I feel like it just covered like Scorsese, DiCaprio's hip.
I don't think that much blood would come out of you.
No,
Where's
man.
it coming from? Even the
When you
head?
explode,
He doesn't
No.
explode. His body's still there.
did
You
we
don't
see his body?
explode.
It's just
Oh,
like
gosh,
there's
seeing
some
his body.
splits and some cracks, man. You get like a little bit of blood, and then he bleeds out. Like you do see like a puddle.
I thought so. Maybe
I
you
don't
don't.
It just
I don't
played
think
weird
there'd
when
be-
I was watching.
I don't think there'd be that much blood.
I mean, none of us have
Maybe.
seen a body
Yeah.
drop from a building.
well,
so who are
I've
we
never
to
seen the
criticize?
impact.
Is there
Wait,
something you
what?
want to talk to us about?
No, like 9/11.
Oh, jeez.
I thought we all knew what I was saying.
God damn
I
it.
know what the fuck you're saying.
Anyway, DiCaprio's
Departed.
end.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh,
The 10 most shocking moments of my movie going life.
Rounding back to another shocking movie moment that the Safdies I was like, oh, so you're really just doing this, huh? Like that's how it feels.
The sudden, like you almost know it's coming, but
I forgot it happened. I was jaw agape. I was
Listen.
like, oh fuck.
Once it came down to like the conclusion and fucking Leo was on top of that building with Matt Damon, I was instantly pissed. Like I was already mad. I was like, because I know what I want to happen, I know it's not going to happen.
You've been watching the Sessies, you know.
yeah.
I know it's not
But
going to
in
happen.
a way it does.
But in a way, it does. Because what I did find out from the Infernal Affairs version is that Matt Damon's character lives and just decides to be a good boy.
That's literally how Infernal Affairs ends.
Lame.
He's decided he's going to be a cop. And so he kills the other bad guy so that he can blame him and like wash his hands and be like,
Well, he does do that.
he does do that in this one, but he doesn't get the just desserts that Damon does at the end,
Right.
which is also one of the greatest moments in my movie going life. Just okay. The greatest last words in movie history.
No, I
It is-
thought it was
it is-
okay,
it is-
and then it's just
Okay.
I was like,
And
"That's
that
just as
defeated
good."
like literally shrugs, just like sure.
Just love
literally
seeing
fucking
Wahlberg
sure.
walk up with the booties on,
It's
like
awesome.
full Michael Myers
It is
jumpsuit.
literally on par with the Joe Pesci. Oh, fuck.
Oh, Goodfellas.
Yeah. All those moments, man. If you think about the Hoffa, you think about the Damon, you think
No,
about the
No,
Hoffa's
'cause the
a lot
Hoffa's just,
sadder.
It's way too
No, it's
sad.
sadder, but the way they play him is surprise and sad and like quiet and
That's
cold.
why I love the Damon. Yeah, okay.
It's
Just
funny.
immediate acceptance and like fuck it.
We want Damon to die.
You want
That's
to
the
know
whole
what's so
thing.
great about that is because the whole movie, even though you don't know it, from the moment Dignam resigns, from the moment Dignam resigns,
He doesn't resign. I'm
He
pretty sure
resigns.
they
He resigns.
ask him
They
to go.
suspend him and then they say offhandedly he resigned.
you don't see him again.
I know, but I thought he quit in the scene. He was like, "I'd rather not." Then
They
and
say
he, like, leaves.
suspension 2 weeks with pay, and he goes, "Fuck it, I don't care anyway," and walks away.
Oh, I
That's it.
thought that he literally implied in that. I took away from that scene that he was
Sure.
out.
Okay,
But I mean,
even if
maybe
it is
because
that
I'd seen
scene.
the movie, I
Yes.
just had that
Regardless, he's out. And You don't see him again until the end, and when you see him again, like part of you is just like, well, what fucking fucked up thing is he gonna say now? Like, what's the one liner? What's the last quip of the movie? And he doesn't say shit, man. He fucking shoots him and he walks out, and that's the best thing that I could have asked
he
for.
does kind of have a visual quip that I hate. Well, it's fine.
What?
I did like what Frank pointed out about the fact that, well, the rat being there at all is ridiculous. But then Frank was like, well, at least it's in front of a government building. I was like,
which
okay.
is the thing Damon's staring at the whole movie.
Yeah.
That's the smart shit about this movie. Going all the way back to the beginning.
The opening of the movie being the thing.
The opening of the movie fucking lays it all out. He's like, cops are just criminals who get to play inside the law. Like, they're just running around saying what's what. At least at that time, whatever. Or this time. Police aren't great. Provenly so, over and over.
Yes.
So the movie calls that out. They call out their racism. They call out their power-hungry trips. And it calls out just criminals saying, we're just doing that on the streets. And we're just, now you say it's legal, who gives a fuck, right? And it shows one of Damon's earliest scenes after he's starting to get promoted. He wants that apartment because he gets to look at the Capitol building.
Right, yeah.
And his partner calls it, or his friend, whatever, calls it out on the bench after the rugby game, which is literally hilarious. He's like, dream on, because he's staring at the Capitol building. He's dreaming. He's on a mission. He wants to be a politician.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's why that moment works for me with the fucking rat. It's like the rats don't stop here. They're still going. Like, if the shot didn't pan up to the building, I'd say it was stupid. If it was just a rat scuttled across the floor near Damon's body, that'd be literally stupid.
Yeah.
But it's the fact the rat's crawling outside toward the building. I'm like, I'm fuck with it. I fuck with it hard.
It's fine, but it's no door that's open just a little bit.
Of course not.
I thought of the ending of Ratatouille.
That should
where
be
he's-
more
where
proof
he's-
of my point.
Where he's looking over Paris. It's just like, oh, nice. Little rat boy. But hearing you say that, I'm like, no, that's genius. But then I also get anything that
And he was thinking.
Here's the thing. I love Spike Lee, so I don't care if you got to slap it on the nose. Fucking say your point. Like, say your point.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes there isn't time to be subtle. And this movie, at no point other than DiCaprio's performance somehow. DiCaprio's performance is the most subtle thing in this movie somehow.
And that's saying a lot.
That's saying a lot.
Yeah.
Right there, which is great. Now that I said it out loud, it's just like, that's bananas.
Yeah.
How loud this movie is.
And when we say DiCaprio's the subtlest thing in this movie, it's also working within the framework of how we know DiCaprio.
Yes.
It's like, if this was
absolutely.
the only DiCaprio we knew, I don't know if I'd say the same thing.
No,
True.
But because we know him, it's quite subtle.
And I do want to talk about how I think this is like up there, at least in the Scorsese conversation, maybe even beyond him, his best first and third acts. Like, I definitely think there's stuff in the middle you could argue about, like, how do we need all this time with it, whatever. But I think for the beginning, like such an efficient way to set up so much information. Like, it just never stops. It's just like, here's the players, here's the world. Okay, wait, there's more to the world. Okay, wait, here's more character, here's more stuff, here's literally everything. Okay, now we can just like be a movie. And it does it always with this like fast energy that you can keep up with. And then third act, from this meeting with Sheen to the end, is a literal goddamn sprint of just like go, go, go. Not missing a beat, everything. Just like superlative filmmaking. The middle, I think we could sit here and argue about maybe things that could be different and changed or whatever, or not necessary or whatever. But first and third acts, like, I think it's just fucking.
Where does the first act end and the middle act start?
See, that is a tough thing. I feel like first act ends somewhere, definitely before the microprocessors. Like, that's definitely act two.
microprocessors.
I feel like it's. I don't know. I literally don't know where Act 1 would end.
Because I get what you're saying. When it starts to dive more into character stuff, that's when the movie becomes a little bit more debatable in a sense. But the beginning, where you're setting up the world, and the end, where you're knocking down all the dominoes, are both amazing, I will say.
Again.
But I never... Red flag. But I never, like, at one point during the movie felt like I was boring or slipping out. I was just like, what the fuck is going to happen?
I didn't feel bored either, but I
Me
definitely
neither.
didn't feel nearly as like drawn in to the characters and the narrative than I am in stuff like The Irishman and Taxi Driver and
Sure.
other Scorseses that I'd tout higher. But I can completely see why somebody would tout this as their favorite Scorsese, even though I would disagree. But the movie itself, like, I don't really think there's, like, I know that you could cut stuff to make it shorter and leaner, and like, but at the same time, like you said with the character stuff, I'm like, maybe that fact that it's all there is the only reason that I care at all. But I also think that casting the people they do sort of makes it.
It does the legwork.
Yeah,
We
like,
immediately make assumptions.
I think it's the same. You can apply similar tactics to the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I know you're not a fan, but I mean, like, the idea.
No, I agree.
And even in the idea that, like,
Miami
you can look
Vice.
at who's the lead. Is it Brad Pitt or is it DiCaprio? And they both share the exact same amount of screen time. Without one or the other, you can't have the movie.
Right.
Like, the movie is completely botched without them.
I actually think that's a very good comparison.
So, like, and the director doing the best he can with, like, the like craziness that he's dealing with. I don't know, like, but Departed, like, has this incredible, like, fucking drive that I think is lacking from even, like, Gangs of New York, Bringing Out the Dead, Kundun certainly. I think Casino is probably the last movie, even though I think Aviator even is a better movie than this, operating on a similar energy to The Departed. Like, where, like, Gangs is trying for it, but I think it's floundering way too much. And it's way too long for its own good. Aviator's just too different of a movie in its genre, whereas The Departed is this completely chaotic and anxious experience that only operates on entertainment for the most part.
Yeah, I was about to say I could probably take another 30 minutes of The Departed, but at the same time, then you'd probably lose that, like, high energy. You would have to slow down more to get more character. Which I think, now I'm thinking about it, that might be my problem with Wolf of Wall Street. I feel like it can't sustain the energy the whole movie, and so I do check out a little bit in the middle.
We'll see.
But I'll definitely confirm it. But from what I remember, that was my impression. Like, this is too long. So maybe Departed is just right. And that's why it connects so hard with so many people. It's long enough that you get invested, but it's not too long that you ever lose interest.
Right. And I think in the hands of somebody like Scorsese and Thelma and the cast and even Michael Bauhaus and all the other people he's working with, surely. I don't like Howard Shore's music that much. I think it is a little weird. But Scorsese's scores almost always are like, what the hell? A little bit.
I like it all.
I like Taxi Driver and Raging Bull.
I think the only misstep musically for real is the Comfortably Numb during the sex scene.
It's so funny.
It literally makes it hilarious. I'm like, well, what's the difference between this and The Room at the end of the day? Like, when we really think about it, like, is there that much? Is this so much better than that sex scene?
Oh, no.
Like,
Why'd you gotta say that?
Because Leo and Vera are fucking hot. And
As
it's
opposed
just like,
to Tommy
whew.
and
whatever her name is. Sorry, Rip.
poor actor.
Yeah.
Not only do you have to be in the most embarrassing, at least we don't remember your name.
Yeah,
honestly.
honestly, that might be better. That honestly, she can live outside of the ramifications.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know.
So
And then
that's
operating outside of its weird script with all of its weird inaccuracies.
I like the
and
script. Fuck it. I'm back on board.
for being kind of goofy. Like, yeah,
The Departed?
it's kind of goofy.
Nails it. It's goofy because it's so focused on one-liners and quips and quotable lines and, like, being a thing that it, like. But that's the
But who else should
theatrics.
direct this other than Scorsese?
That's the
then?
theatrics of Cops and Criminals.
Yeah.
That's when I like it the most, when you identify the absurdity of it all, where it's just like, this is stupid. Like Miami Vice. It's, you've said it before. It's the kids they're playing make believe. I'm a cop. I'm a criminal. Nobody's gonna catch me.
I recognize
I
and
love it.
corroborate everything that both of you have been saying.
Can-
Two boys who are definitely at 5 stars with this movie.
Wait, we're not there yet. We always jump the gun.
Well, I'm not
Jump
getting
the
blunt.
gun.
I'm not getting blunt.
Jump
You're
the
But
gun.
that's a
assuming.
part of getting blunt.
Jump the gun.
We can assume that both of you are here.
You can't assume a damn thing. Brandon's ratings are all over the goddamn place 100% of the time.
True that.
You never know what the fuck's gonna come out of his mouth.
You don't.
Regardless,
For me, it's that this is coming. I've been screaming about it the whole goddamn podcast.
there's just the profundity that I find in other movies of his that I get from those as opposed to here.
Yeah, nobody's gonna argue with you there. What
And that's why I don't argue with y'all's points.
What are some of your guys' favorite scenes from the movie? Because I feel like this is Scorsese has said it's his most plot oriented, which it 100% is. It has a moving plot more than moving characters.
I think that's the thing that he's trying to insert, like you've been saying.
which is awesome. But I think because of that, it's still somehow even in that, maintains his like fragmented vignette feel that I think is just how Scorsese has to tell stories. So, what are some of your guys' like favorite scenes? Like like I said, the Martin Sheen meetup, I think is so perfectly done.
Is my favorite scene.
And then the Leo death and leading up to it, like him and Damon's interaction, with beating the shit out of him.
I think that, like you said, there is kind of an inevitability, especially when you think about the idea. It's like they're almost mirrored. They're taking place in the same location. The same thing happens at the end when you think about the grand concept. Like a person of importance dies, like in a shocking fashion. Same building. It's like I almost can't believe Sheen told DiCaprio to get the fuck out of there. It's like he had to have known he was going to die.
He did.
Yeah. It feels like The Dark Knight almost in a weird way. Like in that scale of like tensity and like scale. Like the way that they're operating with it and the amount of people that are all looking with their eyes, like the different facets of the plot that are all coalescing in one space now. Even though Damon is on the like digital end, like through the phone, talking to people, and DiCaprio is there in the trenches, and then the gang being like, "Where were you?" And he's like, "I just showed up."
It's awesome.
I gave him the wrong address. So good.
I mean, that whole bit, all of that, it's fucking great.
I think that might be the best scene in the movie. I think it's equally emotionally affecting, like knowing Martin Sheen did that, and he's so good where he's like, "Where's your boy?" He's like, "He's up at Notre Dame studying law." And he's like, "Where's your boy?" And then they throw him out the window. And there's that fall. That's the shot to me in the movie. The first one I think of is Sheen's body in the slow motion.
There was
literally
one.
like that's literally perfect though. Is it Jack Nicholson going bug-eyed after throwing the coke on the women?
That was the one.
And he's just got the red and
It's
he's
like
in
a
the
dissolve,
robe.
yeah.
And he's just like
that was hot off him in that blood red shot, which is like a
the
very
theater.
classic Scorsese ball
Like,
house.
that guy is a bad guy. Got it.
I think
It's like the fucking Max Cady walking away to a thunderstorm, you know?
A little
literally,
bit, yeah, a little
quite
bit.
literally. I do love
Just
them.
throw some coke on ya.
I know I like the microprocessor scene, but only from the cop perspective. I think the dealing with the Chinese is not like it's just fine. Like Nicholson's like that's the one time where I'm like, this feels too ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Just because I
scene.
feel like, you're looking at them and you're looking at like the stakes and you're just like, are you really that big of a deal?
Literally. And
Whereas like
Is he
every
wearing
other
a jumpsuit in that scene?
like I feel like
Yes.
every other scene, it's a lot more contained to the world that he's placed in, where he is the king. And like right now, you're getting a lot of outside perspectives. So I feel like that sort of shrinks down,
Okay.
his role. Sort
that
of.
actually, in a way, that almost makes me like it more.
Can I ask sort of an aside question about a Nicholson behind the scenes thing?
Sure.
How do you feel about actors that refuse to wear sports team stuff on movies?
I mean, like
Because
how,
Nicholson
Well,
refused to wear a
obvious-
Boston Red Sox. hat. That was the
Obviously,
thing.
we think it's stupid because just wear the hat.
Okay, just shut up.
Yeah. Okay,
Just
I'm
wear
with
the
you.
hat. But also,
I honestly, if I were in Scorsese's position,
Okay.
I'm Scorsese. I don't care if you're Nicholson. I'm Scorsese. You're fired, like pre-movie.
No.
If that's a decision that you are working out pre-movie, like in theory, that should have been discussed because like Nicholson read the script.
I think
That's probably important.
The hat's not important though.
But
Think
this
it
was
is
this. Hold on,
in the
hold on,
context
hold
of
on.
Boston.
Hold on. The only two that I can think of that we're talking about is Gone Girl and The Departed, right?
Yeah.
Like, is there another famous hat debacle?
No,
Okay.
not in my head.
And it's
But-
both
but-
Boston
but-
people.
But I think The Departed, it matters more
Absolutely.
than it does in Gone Girl.
Yes.
Where that one, I'm like, Fincher, just it doesn't have to be the Yankees.
Yeah.
That literally has nothing to do with the movie. You're just being a dick.
Yeah.
Let the man not
Well,
wear a Yankee hat,
Isn't his character in Gone
He can
Girl
wear
a
a
New
Mets.
Yorker?
which is what he does.
Yeah.
He ends up wearing a Mets.
Yeah.
Cool. You
Yeah.
didn't have to shut down production for 3
Yeah.
days.
No.
David, you're being kind of a baby.
No way.
Here, yes.
But his
No
quote was
way.
the most unprofessional
Yeah,
shit I've
he-
ever dealt
oh
with
my-
in my life.
Literally, it's worth listening to the Gone Girl director's commentary for that moment because you can hear how angry he still is when he talks about it. He's just like, "Yeah, we had to shut down production for 3 days while we worked it out with the lawyers." And then where's the Mets hat? It's fine. It's the
Lawyers.
most unprofessional thing that has ever happened.
It's just like, okay.
It's fine. Like, he's so mad that he didn't get something go his way.
Yep.
That's where I'm like, calm the fuck down. Here makes more sense. You're in Boston. It's a very clearly a movie about Boston. you kind of got to wear a Sox hat, my guy.
Yeah, that or a White Sox. Or no, White
that's
Sox or
Chicago.
Chicago. Is there another Boston team?
No,
No.
it's just the
Chicago's
Reds.
only 2 teams. Cubs.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Red Sox.
Confused them.
Which
Cubs and the
understandable.
Bears.
But like literally what the fuck?
I know.
Shut up,
Just
you
like
baby.
fucking just do it. What is like? What's gonna happen?
Just like you know what this is. You know what it is.
I know.
Oh,
You're an
you're
actor.
You
Yes.
signed up for a Boston crime saga.
Your fucking cousin's gonna look at you in the pod and he's gonna go,
Fuck you, Jackie.
"You fucking wearing a Sox hat?
How dare you wear a Sox hat?
Get out of this family that you're supplying with all of its money."
But anyway, I do feel like this is kind of
Favorite
the
scenes? Anybody?
Oh,
Nobody else said it.
I said one. I said I agree. Yours.
Scene?
Yeah.
That's it.
That death scene, and I think maybe when Wahlberg quits, because both
that is a great
both
scene.
him and Damon are on
Finally-
all cylinders. Like Damon being the biggest baby.
I can do
like,
whatever I want. I'll investigate whoever the fuck I want to.
and he's like crying.
Yeah.
Like,
Listen,
so,
the scenes,
So
the
he's
scenes,
the best. He's so
sorry.
the scenes with the best catalyst for me are that scene and the scene where Leo gets to punch fucking Mark Wahlberg in the face when they're on the dock.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
when
How am
they're-
I not supposed to arrest you right now? That's Martin Sheen. I think I can quote most of this movie. It's
So
fucking
those
hard.
two scenes, obviously, like those were the moments of emotional catalyst because the whole movie I was like, "Fucking punch Matt Damon." Catharsis, emotional release.
You said catalyst both times.
yeah, you did.
And
say
I was
catalyst,
confused why
actually.
you said catalyst. And
I will
like,
say
what movie?
catharsis 3 more times. Jesse, you're gonna have to cut that in over me saying catalyst.
Say it a few different ways so I can like edit it. you know?
Catharsis, catharsis, catharsis,
Wait, give me like a concerned one.
catharsis,
No, concerned.
catharsis,
No, like subtly concerned.
catharsis.
There we go.
All right.
We can move on.
So those scenes obviously gave me the best catharsis, but I guess in terms of like the scenes that I like the most, honestly, all of the therapy scenes with Vera Farmiga, where it's fucking like it's Leo, because I don't
Yeah,
know,
I do love the
men who can't talk about their emotions get to me.
I kind of think that's one of the worst
Okay.
DiCaprio moments in the movie where
No.
he's like, my hand steady.
I like
I
that.
think it's only
okay,
because
I like
that
that a lot.
monologue
Do you-
feels so written.
Do you want to
The
know
whole
why?
movie's written.
Yes, I know.
I like it so much because
The script is weak.
of
No, it's
the
amazing.
absurdity, the fact that he's doing the fact that he is only doing this therapy session because he's undercover, and the fact that he's not supposed to indulge that he's undercover during the therapy scene, but like he still has to do it, and so it almost seems like he's putting on an act. But as these therapy scenes progress, it's like you're not putting on an act, you're putting on an act, but like this is how you really feel, and so those feel
Is
like
it?
yeah. Like that's what it feels like to me.
Does
Obviously,
he know?
I think that's supposed to be the point, but it's
The
interesting
when
that
are
you
you
have
ever-
a pretty one track like that's.
well,
what's
just
going
like
on.
when the
I
lines
mean, I
blur,
think so.
the scenes where the lines blur are what I like. When you can't tell when DiCaprio is acting, like you guys mentioned it earlier, every time he's with somebody else, you can tell that he's being a great scene partner and he's sort of being this character that he has to be.
Mhm.
But when he's trying to be Billy Costigan,
Yes.
like I don't know, those feel like the best scenes. And as the
But-
therapy scenes sort of progressed and how he sort of forced himself to develop this sort of traumatic connection with Vera Farmiga, because it doesn't happen for a reason. She is literally just his therapist who gives him a drug prescription.
the catalyst. the origin of that too, when they
Catharsis.
point out like when you were a kid, you live separate lives. Like you've been doing this your whole life. He probably literally has never known who he is. So there is that like what's real, what's not doesn't matter anyway. Like it's real enough in that moment to him that like that's why I agree with what you're saying. Like that probably is what he's feeling. But there's the messiness of can you know for sure anything?
You
Does he know
can't.
for sure? It's all up in the air and just who fucking even knows.
So and those to me seem like
Those are good scenes.
those could potentially be the most complex, even from Vera's point of view of just like to me this is
She's-
just Billy Costigan. I'm not saying her character or her
Can we
performance.
talk about that she's a terrible therapist?
Oh, the
Like,
worst therapist.
Absolutely.
She's
the
fucking
worst-
her patient.
Well, I
Some-
mean, before. Well, no, when they fuck, they're not. She's not his
Oh,
patient
okay.
anymore. She's like,
Vera
I'm transferring you.
Vera went to a real police like psychologist to like see what was up. The psychologist read the script and said that her character does everything wrong.
Yes, literally. Like that is not how anybody would handle that.
It's a
person.
movie.
at
I know,
all.
but it's absurd. It's
like,
because
yeah.
it's Boston. It's tough guys. I gotta be tough on them. Nah, it's like I don't think I don't think so.
I don't know if you're being too tough, lady.
What are you guys what are some of your guys' favorite lines? I think of I don't even mean the two I think of are not because they're like great lines, but like how they're delivered. It's the DiCaprio why don't you give me a bottle of scotch and a handgun so I can blow my brains out?
That's a
Like
good
the
one.
way, and then Nicholson when he's like, get rid of the tail. He's like, I can't get rid of the tail. Get rid of the fucking tail. And it just cuts and it pauses, and he's like, all right, I'll get rid of the tail. Like literally, it's so good.
A lot of Damon's line readings, I can't say all for sure, but it's just like all the ones where it's like he's having to like continuously mold the situation to fit his like benefit basically, and like all the things he has to like come out of his ass to like make up. The way he delivers half of those are hilarious, but I can't for the life of me remember one of the specific ones, but all of Mark Wahlberg's lines. More specifically the Economist cunts, because I've done that so many thousand times.
I like the maybe not. Maybe fuck yourself.
And I also like the
That
one that
one's
he
my
has
favorite.
between him and Baldwin with the about his fucking his mother.
That used to be one of my
Because it
favorites.
just goes so fast. It's clearly rehearsed and clearly.
That's
like,
what I
you know,
mean.
it's-
It's the cheesiest. Like it's so out of nowhere.
yeah. And Baldwin has a couple good ones.
Go fuck yourself.
Okay.
No, the
No,
best,
my
the best Baldwin one is the what are you? You smoke? You're not smoking. Oh, is that what you're
Yeah,
about to
they
read? You
literally-
read the quote.
I'm gonna go have a smoke right now. You want to smoke? You don't smoke? Do you? Right. What are you? One of those fitness freaks? Huh? Go fuck yourself. And then he walks out. It's like, oh, you're on
Doesn't take a
cocaine.
breath.
Oh, you're on cocaine. I
I
got
love it.
Nicholson's definitely got a couple.
Obviously, the other one, without asking too many questions, do you have anyone in with Costello? Presently. Maybe.
I mean, is
Maybe
the best
not.
line in the movie?
Maybe fuck yourself. It's amazing.
Is the best line in the movie? Are you a fucking cop?
Are you?
Yeah, I'm not a fucking cop. Every time he says it like that,
Are you?
might be the
Are you?
best.
I tried to keep. at the beginning when he first says it, I'm not a fucking
Oh,
cop.
Ray Winstone definitely has some too.
I was like, all right, I'm gonna keep a counter of are you a cop and I'm not a cop. And after like 7, I was like, you know what? I'm good. I don't need to suffer like this. Because guess what? Everyone always wants to know if someone's a cop for good reasons. You're doing crime.
Yeah, I love
You a
the.
co-op?
Why is the last patient of the day always the hardest? Because you're tired and you don't give a shit. It's not supernatural.
It was fucking fair. Like, well, you wouldn't admit that. You wouldn't admit that. You wouldn't go,
Hilarious.
you're the hardest patient of the day.
Okay.
Oh, okay. The tiny exchange between Frank and the dude at the bar,
Oh yeah.
where he's like, "Who let this irate motherfucker in
Oh
here?"
yeah.
He's
And the guy's like
I'm just
nervous.
kidding.
He's like, how's your mother? She's dead.
No, she's on her way out.
Oh, we all are. Act
Act
accordingly.
Awesome. Awesome.
There's
This,
a lot of
like-
little shit like that, dude.
This in a weird way does feel like a lead to like a precursor to The Irishman too. Like I feel like they're like the way the plot flows almost is similar, and it's like temporal be damned, like we're cutting all over the place and like we're building up to this murder of a character. It's like the middle of The Irishman almost is The Departed.
If Frank Sheeran died,
Well, sort of, but but Frank's if Frank Sheeran dies, and he's not like I think Damon is way more apathetic than
Totally.
Frank Sheeran. Even though, like in terms of the audience being able to project emotions onto them, I think part of the reason why you're able to project emotion onto Sheeran so well is because of the fact that he's giving you so little that you like almost need to in order to be able to go with the movie. And then when you have people like Pacino and Pesci and De Niro there, it just makes it easier.
Same like this though.
Yeah, no, I
It-
agree.
It does some heavy lifting of character,
Yeah.
like out the gate. But obviously, Irishman, you spend way more time.
Irishman's
what that
more
extra
subtle,
hour
more
does.
nuanced, but hey,
It's
Yeah.
older.
it is older.
It's
It is more
wiser,
mature.
It took its time.
He decided to take a step back whilst keeping the skill set of the master. Same thing that you were talking about on an episode previous. Can't remember which one. I think it might have been Aviator.
Might have been.
But yeah, the energy of a young man with
yes.
the knowledge of a master.
That's where he's at. That's the new wave Ceci.
I am
until we get to
very
Silence.
excited to watch Shutter Island. Like,
Yeah,
very.
it's
The
gonna
more we've
be-
been talking about DiCaprio, I've been like, I don't know, maybe that's his best.
be
And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I actually don't remember. Like, I remember Shutter Island beat for beat plot wise. Like, I know everything that happens, but I don't remember the mechanics of how the movie
I have
makes
a very
you feel.
distinct memory of thinking it's poorly edited.
you guys,
I thought the same thing with The Potted.
I
So-
don't-
and I wouldn't say that
I
anymore.
don't think I've mentioned this on Shutter Island, but I mean, I don't think I've mentioned this on the podcast yet, but I feel like I might have mentioned it to you guys personally that I used to get Shutter Island and Shawshank Redemption mixed up.
You
You
definitely
have mentioned
said
that on the podcast
It's crazy.
multiple times.
Like it's just like I think about Shutter Island and I remember the DVD and like the DVD cover because it was sitting in our house
It
for like
kind
the
of looks
longest
similar.
time. Like I remember it. But then when I think about Shutter Island, I think about supposedly the ending of Shawshank Redemption.
On the beach?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Shawshank.
Far from the ending of Shutter Island, but
Sure is.
we'll see that in a
And
couple
then
hours.
you guys are like, it's Martin Scorsese's horror movie. I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. I'm curious.
Yeah, I think
about
I think
the-
you could make arguments that other movies of his are indirect horror movies.
I mean,
Totally.
Taxi Driver
I mean,
is
Cape-
terrifying.
Cape Fear is his other, but that's like thriller
Closer to
horror.
direct, yeah. And I think Taxi Driver is kind of a horror
It's
movie.
a horror movie, but it's a character study. So
Yeah.
it's
And
like,
Raging Bull is a little bit too.
it's horrific.
It's
but
just
not
as hard
horror.
to watch as a
I
horror
think
movie, I will say.
think Taxi Driver has the psychology of a horror movie.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah,
Where it's like, this should be frightening.
yeah. We
Um,
definitely talked about that when we talked about Taxi Driver.
We're just like how fucking terrifying.
I think literally Gangs in New York through Wolf of Wall Street is his most over the top,
Yeah,
going for it, maximalist. They're giving me big budgets now.
right.
Fuck it. Like that refined mastery. And then Silence is like the slow down. And then The Irishman is the contemplation.
Yeah.
It's
It's so weird when I think about the fact that we're already at the point with DiCaprio where there's 2 left,
that's
and
it.
then we're done with DiCaprio. If you're not counting Killer of the Flower Moon.
It's just because he did them all in a row.
Yeah.
Where Bobby, he took a couple breaks and came back.
But then I think about it and I'm like, well, kind of, because it's like Mean Streets, you got Alice in Living Room, Taxi Driver, New York, Raging Bull, King Comedy. You have that
That's his
big
run.
break in the 80s, and then you have Goodfellas,
Casino.
drop that in Casino, and then now we're here.
Right.
But then all of a sudden now we're that much closer to The Irishman. So
And
wild.
that much closer to Killer of the Flower Moon.
Whoo, baby.
Is it time to get blunt? Is there anything anybody didn't say that they wanted to?
Not off the top, but I'm sure next episode I'll be like,
Every
I'll
time.
be damned if I didn't say this about
Every
The
time.
Departed.
If we hadn't mentioned anything about The Departed, as much as we had already wanted to, we'd be cunts. You calling us cunts?
Or sailor
said
pegs
this
who
a
lost their
lot.
legs.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
get blunt. I love
Where-
this movie. I've always loved this movie.
Yeah.
I'll never not love this
Yeah.
movie. I can see this is the first time I truthfully saw the flaws, and like it was like Miami Vice. It's just like I don't give a shit. I think the flaws add personality almost, and I like it more for that because I think there's still such a masterful movie inside such a deeply flawed movie, and then the mastery just wins out at the end of the day. And I do give this the full fiver. I was shocked to discover I like The Aviator more. That was a genuine surprise and will probably be my biggest turnaround on any Ceci, unless Shutter Island. Shutter Island has to.
I think Shutter
really blow
Island
me
or
away.
Silence could have that effect. They
It's
could.
possible. I think Shutter Island has a way better shot than Silence.
I'm really curious how Silence is going to play after all these.
But
like,
I
that's
agree.
going to be weird.
I agree. But The Departed fucking slaps, and I would vote for it to be in the canon. Just because, like, it's such a it fits in with like our ideology
I think
pretty well.
I think if we're going based off the idea that it's important to Scorsese's career, that you
That
need
too.
to see it in the realm of Ceci, like it won Best
it
Picture,
won Best Picture.
it won Best Director. That's the only time he's done that. So,
It was a weird cultural moment that
Yeah.
happened, but it also makes perfect sense somehow.
but I do think it gets in the canon on its own merits, personally as well.
What do you give it? What do you say?
4 out of 5. I think it's like as solid of a movie as you can fucking get, and as great of a crime drama as you could ask for in like a cinema, like
A
entertainment.
movie.
Yeah, like a movie, like a blockbuster. Like this is getting released to the masses. This is like I'd rather talk about this than the Avengers. Not to round back to Marvel again, but you know what I mean? Like in the sense that I'd rather this be the movie that like everyone's losing their minds over,
Yes.
like as opposed to other things.
Yeah.
But simultaneously, like I said, I think that it's just the Scorsese has done the things that he does in The Departed in other movies to my preference
Yes.
in different stuff.
Brandon,
It was alright, you know.
stop.
I had
Come
an
on.
okay time.
God.
Two and a half, maybe 3.
Nothing
It's
special.
because you did this after the
Unfortunately.
movie.
Unfortunately,
Throwing
unfortunately.
it back at you.
I know. I don't care this
Nah,
time.
man, I'm just kidding. I fucking, this movie rocks. I like the performances. I like the plot. If you're gonna do the fucking cops and robbers thing, you gotta do it in a way that's interesting and a little bit innovative. And I think the way that Ceci managed to do it this time around was pretty good. And when I think about, his canon and his filmography, like this would be the one. Like this is the first one where like after the day after we watched it, I was like, I would watch that again without like thinking that I would, without like being like, yeah, dude, run it back. This is the first one where like I wanted to stop myself from being like, I could just pop it in.
I feel
and
like
watch
you
The
said that
Departed.
about After Hours, but then you did watch it again.
Yeah, you're the only one of this group that's rewatched Assessi.
Well,
since
that's because we
starting this.
re-recorded it.
Yeah.
But I think you said the same thing, which would make sense why you feel the way you do about those in particular.
Like, okay, so the top, the top 3 or 4 Assessis, I feel like are the ones that I could watch repeatedly. The number, I think number 5 is Raging Bull, which I wouldn't want to do repeatedly. Actually, no, he might be 4. So top 3, I think I could watch over and over again, just because it's so dope. Like, I would watch The Aviator again, but The Departed, simply for like the story and just everything that it is, I feel like I'd have almost an easier time just being like, yep, no, this will captivate me. My fear with After Hours is that if I watch it so many times, like, I'm not gonna find it funny. And
It's
you don't
not
want to
funny.
you don't want to do that with a comedy. You don't want
It's
to run
not
it to the ground. You got to wait your time. The weed does help because it makes you forget everything. So you're just like, I forgot this part that I just watched yesterday.
What about Kundun?
Kundun, but I talked about Kundun with the rewatch that it might not be as interesting
Hmm.
because the part that really grabbed me was garnering information. But I feel like this one has the most rewatchability in terms of just like holding up, where it's like, nope, like no matter how many times I watch this, I'm still gonna be like, this is fucking wild. So I give it the full 5, and I'd put it in the chronic canon.
And is it your favorite? Tough to say, too hard to say. Gotta wait till we're
so
done.
hard. Like, I don't know, man. Like,
We'll
I
get
don't
there.
know.
I know what my favorite Assessi
I'm
movie
waiting
is, but
for-
we're not there yet.
I
Yeah.
really hope that I love Wolf of Wall Street this time around, because I'm ready to be like, number 1, love it.
Yeah, but we know what the real number 1 is. It's Lumen. We're sprinting toward it.
Okay, looming. For some reason, I was like,
I'm telling you right
Lumen?
now, man, after all this, we're going to literally be in a pool of tears. Like, it's going to be
How do
horrible.
you not? How can you now? Because I already was.
I'm
Yeah.
literally choking up, like, thinking about it.
We're just waiting to get to the Irishman. That's
it's
all this
almost
was.
it's almost comforting. We're like, I'm scared. It's like, no, I don't want it to be over.
It's like we're applying
Sassy.
Jack
But I
White's
also
methods.
can't wait for it to be over.
Literally, it's both. It's the duality. We are the Departed. Huh?
You're all rats.
I'm a cop. I'm
You're a
sorry.
cop?
I'm a cop.
We've been
You're
trying to
fine.
figure it out the whole pot. Who's
Just
the
kidding. I'm a
fucking cop?
criminal.
Oh!
Pop. I was Matt Damon the whole time.
If you want a shorter version of The Departed, watch the Dear Sister.
Honestly.
Yes.
It's been memed, but it's accurate.
What's the Jack White way?
Just doing things as hard as you possibly could, like
Mm.
taking the hardest possible route you could to make the ultimate thing happen.
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
Working through all 25 Sessies just to get to one movie.
Basically.
Again. We've already
Yeah, but
seen
I
once.
wanted to see most of these.
Same.
I mean,
So
you guys have added 23 movies to my filmography. So
Mm-hmm.
you're welcome.
thank you.
So The Departed is in the canon. That's 2 in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Have we done that? No. Yeah, we
Um,
totally have.
Yes,
Taxi-
After Hours, Color of Money.
Not Taxi Driver and
New York,
Raging.
New York,
York?
New York.
Oh, I thought Raging Bull was after.
Nope.
Oopsie.
So it's the
Raging Bull,
first
then
time.
Can Comedy wasn't, and then After Hours.
So The Departed is in the canon. It's official. Hooray.
We out
Wolfish.
here.
I got a running list going. That brings us to 12 official entries.
I could totally
That's
see
more than-
us
that's-
definitely having another.
We got at least one.
We got at least one for sure, but I could see a potential for.
I can see a potential for.
All of the next ones have the potential.
Yeah.
Hugo might be.
could. Hugo
Dude,
could
just
be the
fuck. It's a
clinch five.
kids movie.
I'm secretly becoming more and more excited for Hugo. The
Hugo
one that,
bumped. I don't know. People weirdly hate it, and I remember in the theater being like, "I think that was a 5-star movie." I don't fucking know.
Well, we'll
Excited
see how
for-
cute. Sesame
excited
is.
for Hugo, slightly dreading Sacrifice
Silence.
Silence because I'm afraid it's gonna be really boring. You know, it's about like God
It's
stuff.
a little boring. It might be his best looking movie.
I'd have to see it to be
Every
able to
frame, I was like
You know,
gasping. It felt like the Kurosawa level of just like, how are you doing this with just your camera?
I do want to see. I want to see
And Adam
Ethan
Driver.
Hawke, and I
It's a
want to
fuck-
see Andrew
Andrew Garfield, Adam Driver, and Liam Neeson.
Not Ethan Hawke?
No Ethan Hawke.
If Ethan Hawke was in that movie, that would be the most
Is there an
miscast choice for anything.
Is
ever.
Ethan Hawke in a movie where he wears a clergy outfit?
Yes, First Reformed.
Oh,
Written by Paul Schrader. I see how you got there now.
I'm sorry, you guys. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Canon
It's nothing
viewers.
new.
So are we gonna do a recently watched, or are we done?
No, we should definitely do a recently watched. We don't have another prompt, right?
Yeah, that we didn't think of any. We talked about like 3 prompts within the prompt.
Yeah, we got it all covered.
Wait a minute. Infernal Affairs.
What?
Officially.
Oh, not in the. Well,
in
no, we
your
already
canon.
did this.
In your canon.
No, 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5?
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure. And that's me being kind of nice.
This is the first time Scorsese has clinched the
I
remake is better than the original. It's only
Yeah.
a second attempt at it, technically.
But I think this. I think Infernal Affairs actually it does maintain like the story is inherently compelling. Like it just is. Like the way it navigates, progresses, and crosses paths. I'm like it inherently is just like this is what the movies are for. The double crosses, the triple crosses, the quadruple crosses, the surprises, the good guy chasing the bad guy, but he's the bad guy chasing the good guy. It's like it's fucking just that's basic filmmaking. Like yeah, pull me in. How's this gonna turn out?
It's a pretty solid foundation of how people started going to the movie. The stories people were wanting to see on the big screen.
Just like it's only something that works as a movie.
Right.
Because you can cut from one to the other. As a book, it falls apart. As a TV show, there's too much. This is meant to be a movie.
Well, I don't know about The Wire, but like everyone says
I don't know
that's
about The Wire either.
that's the crime cop show that everybody
But that's
needs to
not
see.
doing what this is doing.
No.
That's like a large portrait of a
You know,
city.
Breaking Bad. I know it's more crime, like way heavy on the like.
I don't know. I got like I have the like degenerate memory of or slowly deteriorating memory of Breaking Bad, where I'm just like, is it even? It's probably bad, isn't it?
No,
But I just for some reason in the back of my mind, I'm like, I bet it's not that good.
I think,
and I
it's
don't
the
want to
same-
rewatch it
I
because
think
I'd
it's
rather
the same
think
thing
it's
as The
great.
Departed. I think it's the thing where if you really start analyzing the mechanics of
this
how
kinda
Breaking Bad
stupid.
works, it's stupid. But when you're watching it, it's the most riveting thing.
Yeah, I was riveted
imaginable.
every episode. Well, I did not like the Fly episode. I was like, this, get the fuck out
When
of
you
here.
have the context of the whole show,
I was still annoyed. I was like, this was a waste of my
you had the
hour
context of the whole show.
of Breaking Bad?
Have you watched the whole series multiple times?
No.
So you saw the Fly episode with context?
Oh my god!
Well,
leak-
I mean,
shut-
I've seen the rest and can recontextualize. Like,
Fair.
I understand
I've
the point
I
of
just
the episode.
rewatched it like posts since, and I was like,
Okay.
that episode plays so much better on rewatch than it did seeing it the one time.
Okay. We'll say that.
I'm that guy when it comes to Breaking Bad.
Do you got the context, motherfucker?
You calling us guns?
Okay. So what have you guys seen lately?
Frank, what have you seen recently?
Terminators. Both of them, 1 and 2. Everybody knows. These both fucking rule. I've always loved... The Terminator was one of the most foundational movies for me. The first one as a young lass. I think I've even talked about that on the podcast before. I love it. It's always been one of my favorites. And T2 is something that grew in estimation over time. And this is the first time in my life where I think I like T2 more. There's even a lot of T2 going on in The Departed. Cross-cutting narratives, people not being who you expect them to be, quips left and right, feeling very much like a movie, but excellently choreographed in like a midsection that's not the strongest, but the strongest first and third act ever. T2 and Departed, same movie. Just cracked that code, quite literally.
T2?
And honestly, you know, T2 is successful like it is because it's building upon an already established world. You could technically say that about Scorsese. Scorsese has an established filmography, so The Departed can play like a greatest hits, like you said, or just like the most like crowd-pleasing version of this story. And
Well,
it
it's like
works
The Departed's
because of it.
The Departed's a script that when you're making Entourage, right?
Okay.
You're making Entourage, you're a character on Entourage, and you have a script across your desk that plays exactly like The Departed plays. Who you calling? Marty.
Yeah.
He's the
okay,
guy.
yeah,
Even
he's
at
the guy.
even in 2005 when this movie's in development or what
Well,
2004 whatever.
Or Michael Mann.
Well, I guess, but I even feel like the fact that this is The Mob automatically puts
Yeah.
that in Scorsese's realm.
You're right. We're a studio. You got to ask Marty first.
And if he doesn't, maybe go to Michael Mann.
Right. Then you might start making the other rounds.
Ah, but Mike's making Miami Vice, huh? Weird. I wonder if that'll go well.
Sure
I'm
didn't.
talking as the producers
Yeah.
in 2005.
Fucking T2 has what I remember as like being a little boy, just like the coolest shit is like the liquid nitrogen stuff at the end.
Those were
Okay.
my favorite movies as a kid. man.
I always remember being like, that's so cool, nice.
I don't like that part. I think we watched the theatrical cut. I'm not going to take too long on this. We watched the theatrical cut, which is the first time I've watched that since I was probably like 12 or 13, and I've only watched the director's cut since, which is like
I didn't
20
even
minutes
know there were
longer.
2 cuts.
Oh, there's like 3. The director's cut's longer. Most Blu-rays and stuff have just the director's cut, or that's like the main one.
I'd have to check mine.
Do you remember with the scene with Kyle Reese with Michael Biehn?
Yes, that's the director's cut.
That's director's cut
Yeah,
only.
okay.
The director's cut.
I can tell now that you mentioned that.
It adds 20 minutes of purely character stuff, nothing plot related. And the theatrical cut's like the quick get to it, which is why I think the finale never played well for me until I saw the director's cut, because that 20 extra minutes gets me actually invested in all the relationships.
Right.
Like there's him teaching him how to smile. Like that's not in the theatrical, or
That sucks.
or them fixing the Terminator. That's not in
That
the theatrical.
sucks.
It's literally, it's just like it cuts out these moments where it's like, well, I care about these 3 people now, and now I'm invested like in their survival.
Yeah.
Where in the theatrical, it's just like, this is the action movie ending. Of course, so this is where it was gonna go, and now
Right.
I don't. I'm just checked out, waiting for it to end.
Man, I want to watch both those now.
Terminator didn't slap as hard, but it still slaps so fucking hard. Like
I
it's
love
still
Terminator.
down and dirty, gritty crime movie. So The Departed is a combination of T1 and T2.
Okay.
I just cracked the code. They're the same movies. Congratulations, James Cameron, Martin Scorsese. Everyone gets an Oscar.
James Cameron.
Who else goes?
James Cameron. I suppose that I could lump another movie in that I watched recently in the Departed conversation, kind of, where it's like definitely a bad movie in a much larger degree
Departed is a great movie. Go on.
than Departed, because Departed, you could make so many arguments for being great.
Yes.
But I think you could make even more arguments for this movie being absolute garbage. And I'm going to make an argument that it's a treasure. And that's a movie made by a masterclass filmmaker, revered in so many regards, except this time, Tom Green in Freddy Got Fingered.
Yes, he did.
A movie I've been dying to see for many years now, and finally bit the bullet with Frank and Brandon the other day, but Brandon didn't make it through the entire film.
That'd be
However,
good.
Frank and I did, and we laughed ourselves silly. We thought that was just a fun old crazy movie, completely attacking convention and attacking the kinds of movies that were coming out at the time that were so successful. Like if you're talking
it's
about
attacking all movies.
well, yes, because it does go into territory like we pointed out. Apocalypse Now references coming left
Multiple times.
The Fan with the dissolve, like
Couldn't
just
believe
the
it.
one. Just there's only one slight reference, and it's like
and then later in the helicopter, he plays
Yeah.
Rise of the or
yeah,
Cry
they
of the
do
Val-
Rise of the Valkyries
Rise
or Ride of the Valkyries or
Ride.
whatever. I don't remember what it is.
Wait, what? It's like one of the 3 most famous songs ever. Ride of the Valkyries.
Okay.
We
But-
had to get that right.
Very specifically the kinds of like comedies that were coming
Yes.
out in the early 2000s, late 90s. Like
I'm a
American
slacker
Pie and
boy.
the Adam
All
Sandler
Adams.
movie. Yeah, pretty much. Like it is sort of like if Billy Madison was a satire.
And hard R rated.
Yeah. And I think that Billy Madison kind of is a little bit. Like, even though it's absolutely ridiculous, but I feel like they gotta know how ridiculous
They
being.
do. There's the moment where he starts dancing to the non-diegetic music on the stairs.
Yeah.
And acknowledges that it's coming out of nowhere.
Yeah.
He looks around first and then just shrugs and
That
starts
would be
dancing.
a great double bill. Billy Madison and Freddie Got
Triple
Fingered.
bill. Throw in Hi Mom. For some reason, I think all 3 just fit in this. Like, fuck you. Look
Yeah.
at me. Look at
Well,
me, Dad.
Hi, Mom.
Literally. Hi, Mom. Look at me, Daddy.
Yeah.
And-
You're proud. There's so many quotes. We're talking about quotes. Freddie Got Fingered is full
Look
of
at me,
them.
Daddy. I'm a farmer. I'm a farmer, Daddy.
I only see one LeBaron. I don't see 2 LeBarons.
I'm the backwards man. The backwards man.
The backwoods man, the backwoods man, the backwoods man, as bad as you can.
Come on. Would you
Torn.
like a sausage?
I want to actually. You could lump Step Brothers in there too, because Rip Torn and Richard Jenkins are essentially doing the same performance. Though Rip Torn is way more chaotic.
Come on, fuck me. Fuck me right here.
I can't believe they did. And of course, the mom walks
Yes.
down. Fucking, if you haven't seen Freddy Got Fingered and you are at all interested in anti-comedy or just completely chaotic filmmaking,
Would never
movie
recommend it to
making,
a soul.
you can't earnestly recommend that movie unless I know you and I know your taste.
Even then, I feel like I would be like, I'm not saying you should watch it.
But if you want to see something different, Freddy Got Fingered is certainly that.
You cannot deny the singularity that is that movie.
Yeah.
The scene when he just gives him the car and it's the happy, like he's driving away and then
Yeah,
somebody
and it goes
gets in
to
his
the-
way. Fuck you, get the fuck out of my way.
He's like, get the fuck out of the way! And then he goes to fucking the field,
Jerks off
the farm,
house,
out of nowhere.
basically.
What is he? What
I'm
are
a
you?
farmer. Look at me, Daddy. I'm a farmer. It's so
Hard cuts, just completely out of it. We never talk about it again, except the ending. It kind of comes to full catharsis.
the craziest movie.
I'm not going to go further into detail. You should see Freddy Got Fingered. I don't care. You might hate it. You'll probably hate it.
It's hard.
It's
It's
short.
a hard watch.
It's a hard watch.
And I had an existential crisis of just like, what are movies? What is anything? This is great.
Daddy, would you like some sausage?
And I was cracking up.
The
And
bits,
most of it.
the bits that I saw, I was like, this is funny, but I'm disturbed.
Brandon, what did you watch?
So not in line with The Departed at all. We got Suspiria,
The
the
Luca
remake,
Guadagnino.
Luca Guadagnino.
I shouted that out once before,
Mm-hmm.
but I did not go in depth.
I watched it in a garden outside,
That's
and was
pretty
just
cool.
like, man, this movie is fucking crazy. Like, it was one of those movies that I had heard like about, because like Jesse's a big fan, and I know Frank likes it too.
I'm a
But
bigger fan of it than Jesse.
are you?
I'm a bigger
Yeah.
fan of the original.
Well,
Frank's
I
a
just
bigger fan
like
of the
not
remake.
the. I'm
I
not
like
even,
you like the original more, but
Yeah.
the remake is definitely
I'm
more.
not even talking. I'm
intense
just
to you.
talking about like Suspiria in general. I just feel like I've heard it more from the J-Man side than the Frank
Yes.
Uzi side. But so and it's so I had mixed expectations where I was like, it's probably gonna be like too artsy and I'm not gonna fucking understand anything and it's just gonna be like a hard watch. But like I don't know, like I feel like it was really artsy and a lot of it was like sort of like trying to be like subtle and sending messages beyond what you were visually seeing, but it never like took me out of it. I was very intrigued the whole time. I mean, also like dancing and witches, like what's not to love
I
about
think
that
it's a pretty
combination?
bold
Correct.
movie,
It's insanely bold. And
especially in the editing.
I don't know. I ended up falling into like this weird trance or trap where I was just like, where is this going and what is happening? And then like the last like fucking 15, 20 minutes are the craziest thing on the planet.
Unlike anything I've ever seen.
Anything
Oh,
I've
the
ever
climax.
seen.
The Tom York score.
Dude,
Unmade.
what's crazy is that in any other, I feel like in any other context or setting, the ending would be scary. And it's scary, but I think I would be scared. But I got this really weird, kind of like what you talk about when you talk about the ending of Hereditary, where you're like, it's happy. I don't know. When I was viewing
Yeah.
this moment, I felt like some sort of relief.
It's like
You
down
might-
with the old,
Dude,
in
You
with the
might
new.
say that it feels like
Catharsis.
Yes, yes, yes.
I'll edit it in. Anyway, keep talking.
And it would.
Whatever he's gonna say, what it feels like, he's gonna edit it in.
Okay.
Oh, I know what he's gonna do. Catharsis.
Oh.
Well, it was given away when you heard it in your ears, listeners. But Frank just heard it live in his ear.
Yes, I did.
So yeah, it does give you that. And I like the relief that I felt where I was just like, okay, this is what's supposed to be happening. And everybody is kind of getting what they want, except for the evil people who die. So go watch Suspiria. You're going to have a good time. It's not even that long.
It's 2.5 hours.
Okay, it's pretty long.
It's pretty long.
Do it out.
It's the same thing as the remake of The Departed. It's like double the length of the original movie.
dope.
Do it outside in a garden, and you won't be able to tell.
Almost
So
the
the-
exact same kinds of remakes.
The remake, it takes in a way, yeah. It takes all the subtext of the original and puts it to the forefront.
and a remake of a foreign film.
Yeah.
Even though it's also kind of
In
in a way
English.
foreign.
Yeah.
If anything, I feel like the Dario Argento one feels more foreign in his style and all that, the dubbing and like all that other stuff. If it were actually shot in America and all that, it probably would feel
Right.
equally as, whatever. Like, but Guadagnino's touch like almost makes it feel that much more foreign in a way. And I think it's because the original Suspiria is a movie that I think most people
Suspiria.
could get down with. Like just because it's so weird and crazy, and it's fun. Different.
The original?
Oh yeah.
Now, what I have heard is that like Like OG is more like witch focused and the newer one is more dance focused, or is it the reverse?
OG is more supernatural and just spooky and
Yeah.
weird and just
The remake's both more focused
Yeah.
on
You don't-
witches and dancing.
you don't find out that it's witches until the end. of the
concretely
original.
that it's witches. There's whispers of witches.
And there's always in the score.
But it's not right. It's not the focus though. In the remake, it's in the first 15 minutes where they're like, "Yep, there are witches, and this is what's going on."
Yeah.
It's more. The original's technically more of a mystery and a
Okay.
straight up horror film.
Right.
And then-
Well, that's just the remake is way scary. Or that rewatch, I was like, this movie's terrifying.
On and just real quick, I want to say that the Dakota Johnson's first of all, she does phenomenal.
She's amazing.
She
Yeah.
does so great. Which
Tilda
took me-
Swinton.
Tilda Swinton is the best.
The bee's
She's
knees.
my favorite performance in that movie.
Performances.
Right.
Did
Jesse
you not
did.
know?
Jesse did inform me that she is in fact 3 people.
Dr. Klimper.
There's no, dude. How?
Rewatch
wore
it.
a fake
You can clearly tell it's her. Like you can see her face.
And you can hear her voice too.
Once you know you're looking for it. But if you don't, it's literally you can buy
You
it.
didn't know.
You and Bridget both fucking were like, oh, I didn't even realize that was the person. That's the point, and it works. Totally works. There are only 2 men in the movie.
Yeah.
It's the
the
cops.
cops who literally are made a joke out of.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
And they pull their dicks out.
Awesome.
It's so great when they laugh at him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I love
great.
that scene. I love that scene so much.
It's a great
It's
movie.
terrifying and hilarious and just good.
Just good.
God, the whole movie.
But
fucking whips.
It's a great movie. Great movie.
I was saying, Dakota Johnson, but her first dance scene where that other girl is being contorted,
That's not her first.
like her first, like
Well, her first.
You mean the first horror scene in the movie?
Sure.
Okay, because that scene is crazy. And it is equally as crazy to the feeling of the opening scene of Suspiria in a way.
Blue?
I think the opening scene of Suspiria challenges the entire rest of Suspiria, which is kind of almost a problem. But I think this movie almost does the reverse, where it's like, no, let's build it up to this.
Blew my mind. So yeah, that's me. Suspiria. Go watch it.
Dope. Go watch both, everybody. They're both worth your time for different reasons.
Go watch T1, T2.
Yeah, both worth your time for different reasons.
Go watch
Freddy Got
Suspiria
Fingered?
and Suspiria, and don't watch Freddy Got Fingered. But you should.
Maybe watch Freddy Got Fingered.
Maybe watch it.
Definitely watch Billy Madison and Hi Mom.
Yeah, that's true. Those are fun.
And remember, kids, watching those movies is the way to the future.
The way of the future.
The way to
The
the
way of the
future.
future.
The way of the
The
future.
way to the future.
The way of the future.
The way to the
Next,
future.
next week, we're going crazy with DiCaprio once again.
Let's go, Shutter Island, baby.
The way of the future. Way of the future. Way of the future. Way of the
I'm
future,
Frank.
way of the future. I'm
Brandon.
Jesse.
One more time. I'm Frank.
I'm Joe.
Brandon.
One more time. I'm Frank.
And Brandon.
Yeah, goodbye.
Bye-bye.